Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is a story about what if Naruto has a demonic bloodline in rwby. Before I start, please support for more amazing content and do consider subscribing to my channel and share this video with your friends. This is written by ZaggertheBloodyAngel and link in description and support writer. Let's start the video. Hey. Are you okay? Who are you? Doesn't matter who I am. You were crying and got a nasty bruise on your face. Who hit you? Let me at him. I'll take him out. Was it your dad? Big ole punk. What? No. Papa would never do such a thing. Then what happened? Looks like a nice welt. Wait, was that from a sword swing? Someone hit you in the face with a practice sword? Yes. Jerk. They need to be taught a lesson. No. They're training me to use the sword. Well, whoever it is, their training sucks. You aren't supposed to hit your pupil in the face, you know. Gonna show them a few things. No, please don't. It was an accident, I swear. Ma, it doesn't look so accidental, but if you say so. It was, honest. Hey, well, as long as you're okay. How did you recognize it was a sword welt so easily? Oh, that. I get them all the time. I steal from vendors here every day so I can get by. Often I get hit by many things, and even the guards occasionally get me with their swords. I use my aura to shield myself from their blows, so it only leaves bruises and kick the shit out of them in retaliation. What? But, why are you stealing? You don't need to do that here. We all live together and cooperate. No one cooperates with me. I live alone in the forest. Done so all my life. Only the nice cat lady that comes by and helps teach me to read and write. Hey. You look like her. Is she your mom? What? But, what? I don't understand. Lake, honey, Adam came home as he was worried he might have been a little too rough today and noticed you weren't Naruto. Fuzzy ring ears. This your daughter? I like her. Help. Don't understand him. Hazy cerulean eyes lazily gazed up at the blue sky, looking upon the shattered moon up in the heavens. Not a care in the world was held in them as the person attached to them lay on a tree branch thick enough to support his weight. A gentle breeze lifted through his spiky blonde locks, causing a content sigh to escape his lips before his long golden bushy tail, with a white painted brush tip wrapped around his waist. Too comfortable, he muttered, lounging in his position, stretching on the branch. Don't want to move, could stay like this forever. Atlas branch leader Uzumaki. A voice trembled from beneath, one he didn't recognize. High Leader Khan has called a meeting. He didn't need to recognize it. He knew the title. He understood the tension in the voice. After all, well, he was not dangerous to his fellow allies. He held a fearsome reputation amongst huntsmen from his work. One didn't earn the nickname the Hell Fox with reason. Naruto clicked his tongue against the roof of his mouth in annoyance and slid on a white grim mask with red markings over his eyes. Back to work. Anime age 15. And who are you, child? It's rare we accept applicants so young and one from the streets, even when they show such remarkable gifts and exquisite talent. What makes you so special? What makes me special? Do you even know who I am, lady? Excuse me? Do you realize who you are speaking to? Yeah, and I don't care after a question like that, High Leader Khan. You called me here. Singled me out specifically in front of all these people to ask that. Yeah, nah. I'm not bowing a knee for that. Interesting. You little cur. You will show. Hold your tongue. Do please forgive the audience. I simply wanted others to see what the future of the White Fang holds. Now, please, child, I would very much appreciate your answer. Oh, you want my answer to what makes me special? After that introduction, fine then. You want it. You got it. Indeed. I've heard quite a lot of you already, and I must say the rumors don't do you justice. A certain bull needs to keep his mouth shut or I'll break his jaw again. My dear, if it were only him, the rumors would not be nearly as flattering and you would not have been brought here today. Now for the final time. Yeah. I'm getting to it. You want to know who I am and what makes me special. Well, you know, they aren't the same damn thing. My name is Uzumaki Naruto and I am the best around. You better damn believe that, damn it. Oh? Naruto entered the room he could only classify as a throne room and his day immediately improved upon the sight of the first person he saw standing next to the person he most despised. And he could not help himself as a sliver of a smirk rose on the corner of his lips. Any time he could compliment her and taunt him simultaneously was a win. I did not expect to see you, my deadly yet lovely nightshade. It is a privilege to see your beauty again. Has the bull been treating you well? If he hasn't, say the word and I'll shatter his delusions, break him and take you safely to Atlas at a moment's notice. You know I take care of everyone under my command and no one gets left behind. It'd be the best lateral promotion you ever received. Blake flushed and turned away, saying nothing. She did not say a word and nervously glanced at her partner, fearful of what action he may take or what could happen. "Watch your tongue, cur." Adam snarled with his arms crossed, his teeth gritted as his fist clenched, but he did not react further. "Otherwise, I will cut it out." This only made Naruto's grin widen as he closed his eyes and tilted his head. "Oh, I'm so sorry, Veil Leader Taurus. I did not see you there. How is your arm and leg, by the way? Have they healed since I left you broken from your last little temper tantrum? Oh, and I say. You have repaired wilt and blush. I thought I melted them to a scrap heap after our last encounter." "Naruto," Sienna's voice echoed as she sat on her throne lackadaisically, laying her cheek against her hand in exasperation at her kingdom leader's childish antics. "This is official business. Please leave personal business outside the doors." "Only if he can this time." Naruto respectfully bowed to his high leader, his eyes glinting toward the bull. "It is thus why I had to mention and remind him of the incident. If he steps out of line, I will put him back into it, my lady. You know I do not tolerate a lack of discipline." A smirk wormed its way onto Sienna's expression as Adam bristled silently. She only nodded and held back a chuckle. "I am very aware of how you run Atlas and it's very effective, my dear Hell Fox. I think all leaders should take note. But alas, we must start this meeting on new assignments and goals I have adjusted for this year. Dust has become increasingly more valuable and I want to cripple the SDC and Mistral Trading Company more than ever to give us leverage." Anima age 19. "Ah, Princess Nightshade. You still call me that even now, after I've joined. Why would I not? Are you not the queen of our people? Why are you so frustrating? You know that's not true. Are you still trying to get me to lose my temper? We aren't kids any longer." "No, not today. Games, while fun, aren't nearly as much when you no longer care for them. But as much as I know you won't accept this, I have an offer for you." "An offer? For what?" "A transfer. I wish for you to leave the bull's side and come to the Atlas branch." "Excuse me?" I did not stutter. "And I know I've upset you, but I will not cede this point. He is and always has been bad for you, my lovely Nightshade. He's rotting your flower and you can't even see it. What do you think you know? You think you know better, don't you? And what if I do come to Atlas? You think I am magically going to fall in your arms? Grow up, Uzumaki. I long have moved on from such childish desires, Blake. Your safety is what matters to me and I know how much more blood is being spilled in Vale. You need to leave." I can't. Damn it. I wish you would listen to reason, you know. I just don't want to see you cry again." "Naruto." "Back home at last," Naruto muttered as he stepped off the bullhead, repressing a gag despite being just outside the city of Mantle in a worn-down but maintained old Atlas base they had repurposed. "Ah, fresh air. It's never fresh here." A smug voice responded as a middle-aged, lavender-eyed, short-bob, blue-haired Alphronus walked up the ramp to meet her branch leader. "It's good to see you returned safely. Did anything of value come from the trip?" "More of the usual, Lav. New missions and a new goal for the year. Dust is a priority this year, so we're going to be hitting SDC a lot and that means dealing with the Atlas military a lot this year. Joy." Naruto withdrew a small thumb drive and tossed it over. "Failed to convince Lady Belladonna to come to Atlas, so she's still stuck in Vale with the demon. Alas, can't win them all. That's not entirely new, but it is concerning when it comes to your health, as you are always the last one out to ensure everyone's safety." She responded while snatching the device easily before her frown deepened at the last statement. "Sir, if I didn't know any better, I would think you are trying to replace me. I value your skill set, as you are well aware. It is necessary here in Mantle and Atlas, so hell no." Naruto smirked before shaking his head. "I simply wish to take Ms. Belladonna away from that horrible excuse of a branch leader so she doesn't end up running. She looks ready to flee and I'm afraid she will, so a transfer is what I feel she needs." "Well," Lav sighed, examining the device momentarily before pocketing it. "I can see that. Been hearing rumors things in the east have been getting more violent. Yet since you have taken over as leader here 3 years ago, violence has been slowly reduced, training has been more effective, and as a result, our production has been more effective. That's because proper training yields results. Any fool could tell you that." Naruto walked with his second in command down the ramp. "You were already overworked when I took over, so I can only imagine what it is like now, so maybe if I did bring her in, it would make everyone's life easier, you know. You are always stressed out and from what I hear, she is good at rallying people, is passionate, and everyone likes her." "That's not the point, sir." Lav snapped, her eyes burning brightly with something he didn't quite register as she turned away from him and stormed away. "I need to look over this and process it. When you have something, let me know so we can make our preparations." Naruto waved happily, almost as if he was antagonizing Lav. She huffed and entered a building with the door slamming, leaving him to rub his chin. Huh, is she jealous that I might be interested in Blake? Nah. That can't be. Selena's age 18. Are they seriously putting a kid in charge here? It already happened in Vale. What is High Leader Khan thinking? Heard he's even better in a fight, not as eloquent as that other kid, though. Enough. He's here along with the High Leader. Mind your tongues. He was put in charge here as the High Leader believes in him and we should show faith in her judgment. Yes, Lady ACO. Ah, High Leader Khan. Welcome to our Atlas base. Forgive me for. Fret not, Lav. I am painfully aware of the situation here. Running operations in this climate and against the huntresses of Mantle and Atlas's military is not easy, especially when your last leader has stepped down from his post. Smells awful here, worse than Mistral and Vale combined. First time in the region, dear. It does not get better, unfortunately. It is due to dust pollution and mining. Ah, where are my manners? I should introduce you to your second in charge. My dear, this is your new branch leader. Uzumaki Naruto. Lav ACO. The pleasure is mine. Now. Don't underestimate him, Lav. Or any of you, for that matter. Things are about to change here. It is specifically why I chose him to run this branch, as I want results and he has never failed to deliver. Now, dear child, if you would. Yeah, I got this one alright, listen up. My name is Uzumaki Naruto and from this point forward, you work for me now. I've already been briefed on the situation up here and I know how much work I've got ahead of me, which means we all have a lot of work ahead of all of us. But here is one thing you all should know about me. As long as you work for me, I'm gonna make sure you come back safe and sound. No one is getting left behind. Every life matters and we do not take that for granted. Even our opposition, as much as you despise them. We're better than them and it's time we prove it by rubbing it in their faces as we leave them lying in the dirt. Heh, be more willing to listen when someone's foot is up their ass, you know. But that's not. We have a mild difference of approach, but I approve nonetheless. He's not above violence if necessary, mind you. But only if absolutely necessary, dear Lav. Do be aware of that. High Leader. I have seen what he is capable of doing when he is forced into that point and the gates of hell are opened and it is a terrifying experience. This was not going to plan. The very first dust heist after the big gathering of the kingdom leads and now he was dealing with this. Lav had properly gauged the information on the device, gathered the times. Knew how well defended each shipment would be. Where they would be most vulnerable at. If there was anyone on board so they could act freely or not. He would not stoop to the other branch's level. Death was not an acceptable outcome. They were better than that and they had to prove it. That was what this was about. Being careless only hurt their cause as there was a much more important point to prove. Despite all the hatred, they wouldn't settle on being dragged and bathed in the shadows. Only if there was no choice would he allow someone to kill another and even then. He would be the one to ultimately do it as he didn't want one of his operatives to have their hands stained with blood. Naruto would take that burden, that pain on his shoulders. So he had an adequate force assembled of his well-trained White Fang operatives to deal with what was supposed to be droids and a few men. Disposing of the droids and tying up the men would have been no issue. Job well done in 10 minutes, if that. Probably 5 if he was feeling frisky and wanting to get it done quickly. It was cold. But everything went wrong the moment after they arrived. These weren't the standard droids. No, these were the new Atlesian Knights. These things were still not even officially out. His operatives had a much harder time dealing with them than he anticipated as their armor was much stronger and so was their firepower and close-range capacity. The amount of them was higher, too, than what Lav had calculated. Add in several spider drones and this would have already been a disaster, but that wasn't the worst part. This was a trap as they were here. The ace operatives. Here to capture him. What a lovely day this had turned out to be. Either there was an informant, Naruto growled over the radio, his breath bated as he rushed through a blizzard. Blistering across the frozen train tops, his eyes glistened with a burning aura, his cerulean almost overtaken by a crimson aura as it built around him. He was stationed on the bullheads with his pilots and field analysis as emergency aid. To let his men do the work and be there only if necessary, and it was now as he slated next to where his operatives were entrenched, some injured and wounded. Or they tapped our network as they knew we were coming. Return to the bullheads. We're making a tactical retreat. I'll stand and cover your exit. Sir. One of his operatives, still firing rounds at approaching droids, barked at his commander. Can't do that. Either we all get to safety or none of us do. We have to make sure everyone gets back to base. Now is not the time to use my words and motto against me. Naruto roared in frustration, his eyes flashing scarlet before pushing forward, his hand melting through and reducing an Act 200 to a standing, then oozing pile of metal. This isn't for discussion. This is an order. I'll handle this. Weird song choice for this scene, Rob Zombie's Dragula. Shit. The lead operative held his weapon on his shoulder, a mere fishing pole, and skaters back on the railing on top of the frozen train. The Hellfox has hit the scene. Defensive positions. What do you mean defensive positions, Clover? We have them on the run. A young olive-skinned woman with mechanical gauntlets and bracers attached to her arm and shoulders cried out, confused, looking down at the retreating White Fang confidently. It's just one guy. What is the big deal? Let's run through him and finish. Harriet, please don't rush in. A much taller and even more muscular olive-skinned woman tried to reason with their comrade. He's not a foe to be trifled with. Indeed, he is not Elm. A tall pale skin with shaved gray hair responded with what seemed to be a golden aura spreading from his arms and legs. Wait, are you already preparing for battle, Vine? A rounder and chubbier member of the operative spoke. Guess that makes sense considering the last time. I know I am, Tortuga. Clover grimaced as he held his defensive stance and prepared to make a move. We got trounced last time even with assistance from Winter. I don't have time for this. If you are all too afraid to do anything, step aside. Harriet surged with aura, sparkling and moving forward faster than they could see. Only pink eyes, sparkling with golden intent, grew twice in size as a forearm connected with her jawline and neck. She was immediately flipped from the force of the blow, and with her speed, she slammed head first into the steel grating below from the clothesline. And then ate a boot to her chest as Naruto stomped her, his eyes glimmering with heated intensity. His fanged grin only frightened her as he tilted his head. You got spunk. I like that. Let's run wild together. Oh shit. Harriet. Clover yelled, lashing his line out with blistering speed as Elm charged behind a much faster Vine, with golden stretched legs boosting him while Tortuga stayed behind. The golden hand stretched out, reaching out toward Naruto while a hook lashed past him, aimed for Harriet to drag her back and away. You're mine. Naruto leaped off Harriet toward Vine, causing her to yell in agony, suddenly rolling and sliding underneath Vine's grasp with a baseball slide. Vine stumbled as he kept hopping to his feet mid-slide, keeping his momentum, his hand burning crimson as Elm swung Timber viciously towards him, planting her feet as her aura rooted her in the spot to amplify her strength. Only for his hand to catch the hammer, slipping into it as he pierced it. Her eyes widened at the action, only for them to shimmer as his hand began to sink into her weapon. It began to glow a golden hue. I see you changed the metal of Timber. It still doesn't matter. What's this one's boiling point? It's gonna melt soon, you know. Ah. My hands. Elm screamed, even as she shielded her hands with aura, she couldn't withstand the heat and was forced to drop Timber as the weapon began to ooze and drip on the defrosting metal below it. Only for a right elbow to strike her with enough velocity that her aura crackled as she fell from the train, falling into the drift below. Her floating green platform caught her in midair, keeping her from falling off the train. Clover. Be quick and get Elm before my shield runs dry. Creating a platform for too long isn't good for my health. Tortuga cried as Clover had drug Harriet back to him. Yeah. On it. Clover flickered his wrist and, with a single toss, hooked an unconscious Elm. Got her. Let the shield form it on us. What no. Tortuga's eyes widened, crafting a shield before him as Naruto was upon them with a vicious leap, crimson chakra trailing behind him in his wake. Please don't melt me. I'm a Fronis too. Doesn't matter to me. Naruto drove his fist into the aura shield, Tortuga's body crackling as his forest eyes flickering in horror as his shield turned red, yellow, and then gold and white before he cried out as his aura shattered as he fell to his knees. You stand against me. You will fall. Fronis or human, I fight for equality for both sides, so don't get in my way. The heavy left spin kick drove into Tortuga's skull and sent him skidding across the cold grating, luckily managing to stay on top of the moving train. Golden hand swiped from behind before Naruto could continue his assault toward Clover, as he had just reeled an Elm when Golden hand swept in, forcing him to slide back. I've got your back. Thanks. Clover grinned, taking a defensive stance in front of Naruto, but glanced back at Harriet as she shakily stood back to her feet, coughing as Vine moved to his right. You good to keep going? There is a reason why I said to go on the defensive. The general doesn't give flee on side orders, but he gave one to the Hellfox. Engaging is a risk even in advantageous scenario. And he's gotten faster and stronger, it seems, Vine added, his normally peaceful face strewn with negativity. This was not an engagement we should have made, we need more forces to attempt a capture. Harriet's addition was certainly not enough to make this call even with the information. Yeah, seeing that now. Clover shouted, his eyes locked in with a fierce crimson gaze, as Harriet looked on with wide eyes, not believing what she was hearing or how dangerous this fauna supposedly was. The snow drifted harder to the east as a wicked wind blew. But scarlet eyes pierced through it and gazed into stricken teal eyes. I'll make you a deal. Tell me who gave you that information. I'll let you off the hook right now, give you this train and call this a day. I don't like the sound of this. Clover stepped back fearfully, his eyes shooting a spiteful glare at Vine. Really don't like this. Or, I'll break every bone in your body and get you to tell me that information. Yeah. Fuck you, Vine. You got me killed, you son of a. We don't know who the information came from. Harriet slowly made her way to his left, drawing Naruto's attention as she rubbed her jaw. It came to our analysis anonymously. They couldn't track it. And it doesn't matter. For after we're done here you are going to be in chains. Did she just? Clover shivered as the sub-zero temperature dropped further. Now we are dead. Vine winced, having enough run-ins with the blonde Fronis to know if there was a trigger word not to use. Naruto turned his entire focus away from Clover and Vine, alarming both as his scarlet eyes dilated entirely onto Harriet. His breath steamed within the heavy snowdrift and Harriet could clearly see his hands smoking as an aura built around them. Say those words one more time. Give her a break. She's new. Clover rushed in, added by swipes by Vine, as the two attempted to draw attention away from Harriet. Don't break your code for something as trivial as this. You stand tall to make everyone recognize Fronis's cause, remember. Vine tried to reason with Naruto as he weaved in and out of their strikes effortlessly. But to their horror, Harriet entered the fray and he was entirely focused on her. And despite the speed, they couldn't react to. He could. He saw her and was fast enough to respond. What? Harriet screamed as she took a boot straight to her chest, knocking her back. Gah. This is annoying. You can't do that again. Don't you do it. Clover felt Kingfisher ripped out of his hands by Naruto's teeth as he turned and snapped it out of his hands, headbutting the leader back. The fuck are you? One of a kind. Naruto grunted with Kingfisher in his mouth and jumped back as Harriet came to attack him and then sprinted away. Oh no, you don't. Harriet roared, pink eyes turning gold as she rushed after him. Scarlet eyes flickered and his aura burned red as she raced past. What the fuck? Harriet's eyes widened in horror as Naruto nearly kept with her, losing steps by managing nonetheless. What are you? You're new here, so I'm gonna explain this real slow and simple for you, Naruto growled as he pulled back on Kingfisher, Harriet's eyes pulsing as she wrapped the wire around her. My name is Uzumaki Naruto. With a single leap into the air, he carried Harriet behind him high above the train, his eyes glinting as he looked back down at her frightened gaze. And he only grinned. And I routinely do the impossible. With a cast of Kingfisher, he tossed her back down into the train and slammed her head into and through one of the carts. Her aura crackled around her as she cried in agony from the impact. But she was still awake to watch as Naruto slowly descended upon her. Look out. Clover attempted to intercept him but was knocked back with a single kick. Get away from her. Vine's hands extended, but he, too, was knocked back as Kingfisher was thrown into his face with enough force that he stumbled into Clover. There was nothing left between him and her as he mounted her. Hand raised to strike. Harriet stuttered fearfully at the scene, unsure how to react as his hand descended upon her as fast as her own hands as she closed her eyes, screaming at the top of her lungs. He was so quick. Why was it so hot? Something was splashing and searing her head. Next time, I won't miss. Don't ever use that word again, you hear me? Naruto snarled as Harriet's pink snapped up and looked straight into Scarlet. Been in those enough my life. Never going back. Okay, Harriet nodded dutifully. She didn't need to know why he was in chains. Whatever it wasn't good and he didn't want to hear that word again. That was good enough for her. Oh, thank he held back. Clover groaned as he shakily stood back to his feet, only for his eyes to widen. Why are you coming back for me? Information. Naruto struck Clover with a kickback down to the metal grating, growling. Exactly what was in that information that Atlas got about this mission? It had a lot of mission details. Harriet coughed, struggling to get to her feet, her eyes shimmering at what she felt and witnessed before her. And she did not want to go through it again. Harriet, you know, Vine started before Clover held his hand out to stop him. It was definitive on everything. Time, place, and how the operation would take place. Clover took a few breaths, holding his chest wearily. And even with all that information. Is that so? Naruto growled, his scarlet eyes flashing furiously as he turned and moved from the scene. You may go. We're done here. That's it. Harriet could barely breathe, but her surprise couldn't be understated. Seriously? After all that? What is? We told him what he wanted. Vine placed his hand on Harriet's shoulder before offering to assist her, watching his retreating. He is honoring his end of the bargain. Even by all rights he could win this encounter and accomplish the mission. He got what he wanted, and we're not better for it, Clover muttered, limping as he moved out of the cart to go into the other parts of the train to check on Elm and Tortuga. And as the snow fell harder, Naruto's scarlet eyes burned fearsomely, his teeth gnashing. Only one person could have those details about what they were doing. But why? Lav, you have some explaining to do when I return. Salid is age 20. Lav, what do you have for me? Air traffic is light. Minimal security. 20 AC 100, a patrol guard squad every night guarding. Nothing that an operative team couldn't handle. They are well trained and equipped to deal with such a situation. You aren't required to. Negative on that. If anything goes wrong, I want to be there. We've had incidents where one of Robin or one of her huntresses get involved and our operatives aren't coming back and I've got to go in and rescue them again. Or worse yet, the ace operatives are that bitch Winter, as they are more difficult to deal with. Not to mention she now has a bone to pick with me. You did waste to all her summons, trounce her, tear apart her philosophies with your verbal assault, all the while bending her over your knee and spanking her fat ass while recording it. Ma, you went through my scroll. Deleted the footage. I know you copied it. Deleted and the other videos. All of them. No. I quite like watching it. Helps me sleep at night. The others, well, good material. Oh. So, could you please just send the operatives tonight? I want a night alone. Tempting offer, but can't do it. Duty before gonna stop that rhyme right in its tracks. Gah, now I'm having a hard time. Beat me? I would if you let me. Getting out of here. Gotta prepare for the mission. Get back to work, Lav. These are too soft. You know that. Sometimes you have to sacrifice. This world is too cruel to go through it like this. What the hell happened? Naruto barked as he emerged from the bullhead, ripping off his mask as he entered his base headquarters, unpleased with what happened. I know sometimes information can be incorrect, but you check your where is Lav. She is AWOL, sir. A faunus with extended fangs and furred wings on his back saluted his leader as he walked through the door. She disappeared the moment after you successfully fended off the ace operatives and aided in our operatives' escape. She what? Naruto's voice bellowed throughout the base, his eyes sharpening, and his fellow White Fang member trembled and nearly dropped to his knees as his attention was squarely brought to him. Seeing the faint fear in everyone in the room and the reaction of his subordinate in front of him, Naruto clenched his fist. Taking a breath and withholding his building rage, his cerulean eyes gazed deeply around the room as she spoke calmly and authoritatively. Does anyone have an answer? Where did she go? There was no response. Everyone remained quiet. They didn't have an answer. He snarled. His eyes shone violently and he ripped straight to her old desk, ripping into it. Looking for anything. And his eyes were drawn to it. Naruto gnashed his teeth as he saw a rose in her desk and narrowed his eyes. Picking it up, it wilted to ashes as his eye burned crimson as heavy flaming aura ignited around him as he whispered to himself. Adam. So this is the game you're playing now. Sanus, territory of Vale age 20. Naruto. Stop. Please stop. How many more damn times will I have to see pick up the pieces? I'm tired of this, Adam. I'll cur you still think after all this time. I'm not the one making her cry, you worthless spitless vermin. You want me to snap this fucking horn off as I'll do it. I already melted wilt and blushed to scrap. How much more fight do you have left in you? You don't have the my horn now. You ready to start listening, or shall I take the other one and shove it up your ass? I am more than willing to use violence to make you listen. I never said violence wasn't useful, you know. I'm damn good at beating people to an inch of their life, begging for it, but nah, don't want it to give it to them as I want them awake. Want them to listen to what I have to say. Feel what I say, as they were too daft to listen before. So you're a coward then. What was that? Nah, Adam, I ain't no coward. I've killed before, it's how I activated my semblance. You want to see it fully. Witness the gates of hell open before you and consume you with unholy fire. Is that what you want? Naruto. Please. You said you never wanted to see me cry, so please stop. Princess Nightshade fuck. Fuck my hand. Yeah, gave you your horn back. You're welcome. Maybe they can glue it back on. I dunno, but what I do know is. If you keep pushing Blake into these violent situations and make her fear for her life again, I will open the gates of hell, and may am pity on your soul as I will not. So about my request. I cannot approve it. Sienna's voice came over his monitor as he sat alone in his barely lit office, his eyes aglow, seething. You must be joking. Naruto bit back a growl, his eyes flashing a scarlet crimson before. I no longer have a second in command now. I require a new one, and he is at fault. There is no proof that he is, whether you believe he is or not. Sienna eloquently replied, leaving Naruto seething. All evidence points to Lav acting on her own accord. She has been blacklisted for her actions, and we are currently dedicating resources to her apprehension in all regions, as betrayal in such a manner is not to be taken lightly. It's another matter when one walks away. So you are just going to let her stay under his command? With what he's been doing? Naruto snarled, his lip curling in frustration. You know how important she is. How important the Belladonna name is to the White Fang. Losing her. She's gone. Sienna's voice soberly informed Naruto, his eyes dilating. It happened during a mission. A reported dispute occurred and she interfered with Adam's plans and left. And while I'm not ignorant of the increase in violence in the Vale region, she interfered with a mission much like Lav and has been blacklisted too. She will receive no favorable treatment. Flipping the monitor off, Naruto did not care if he had disrespected the High Leader. He was beyond furious as his eyes vividly shone in the dark room, his hands clenching and canine driving into his lips, drawing blood from his flesh. He spat blood as he stood up, ignoring the ringing on the other end, and walked from the room as he had other business to attend to. Blake, get the hell to Atlas so I can do something, damn it. Guokuana age 14. Ah, Princess Nightshade. Stop calling me that. Not until you stop reacting like that. Ugh. Why are you so frustrating? Because it's funny to see you act like this. You are always so composed. You're a jerk. Sorry. I'll behave. I'll be better. You better be. Oh. I found a book you might be interested in. I might not have been able to afford it, so I had to sneak it out, but… Naruto, that's the one I've been wanting. You loud, stupid, give it here. Only if you thank me for it. Ah. Why would I thank you? See, was that so hard? Yes. Okay, I'm sorry I stole it. But at least you have the book you've been wanting. See. I have been paying attention, you know. Just like I know it is almost your burr. What is going on here? Oh great, it's Bull. Lovely. Adam. Is it time for training already? Not quite, but I decided to come get you early. Oh, isn't that coincidence? Indeed it is. Come, let us head out before it rains today. We needn't be wasting time. Especially around here. You mean me, don't ya? Naruto, no. Please don't start, Adam, let's go. No, please don't leave me for a jerk like him. It was always cold here. This would have been a frozen wasteland if it wasn't for the city of Mantle and the floating city of Atlas. All to avoid the Grim, as originally couldn't handle the cold. They adapted and overcame the environment. Became stronger for it. Faster. Larger. Many said the Grim and Vacuo were the most dangerous. He would have to disagree. The Grim of the Kingdom of Atlas were far more deadly. A large quantity of ash-filled smoke filled the air. Black saber-toothed cats pawed the melting snow almost fearfully as they stepped back as the megalith before them evaporated into superheated dust. And scarlet dilated eyes struck, a burning palm plunging through their head as the first Saber's body glowed a superheated golden hue, dripping onto the snow as it melted slowly into a puddle. And ashes of the smoldering corpse flickered from its body as it collapsed to the ground, burning through the tundra below as Naruto moved to finish the rest of the Grim. The rest of the body finally began to dissolve into smoke as its body eventually returned to its natural coloration. As the corpses of the Grim lay at his feet, his eyes shifted to a cerulean as his aura slowly faded. Hearing the telltale signs of methodical crunching off the ice, he didn't bother looking as he gazed into the frozen abyss of Solitas. What do you have to report to me? Have we found anything on Lav's whereabouts? I'm afraid she's gone dark, sir, and she's staying off the network to cover her tracks. The bat-winged Phronus responded, tepidly looking at the scene around him, unsure just how the leader was capable of such devastation. I can't help but think she knew we would be trying to track her through the network and her logins. She trained each of us, so I know she might be able to thwart us individually, but… Desmond, let's not focus on what we can't control. Let's keep searching. Naruto softly sighed and closed his eyes. What else do you have for me? Well, outside, our supplies are running low since we cut contact with the main forces. I found some information you might want to hear. Desmond pulled up his scroll and navigated it before pulling forth the data he was looking for. Ah, here it is. It comes from the Vital Festival. Naruto rolled his eyes. Nothing good ever came from those events. The last time any news came from them, it was that the previous Atlas branch leader had stepped down, having enough. Supplies will be constantly running low as we fend for ourselves here. If the High Leader is willing to let the Vale branch run amok, I'm going to force her hand and run autonomously without her aid up here, as I'm not in the mood to deal with her politics at the moment. As for the festival, I have no time for events like that. It's about Ms. Belladonna. Give me that. Naruto turned and snatched the scroll from Desmond's hand, his eyes narrowed as he looked at the data before his lips quivered and his eyes shimmered. Well, I'll be you actually went and took a stand on what you believed in. About damn time, Princess Nightshade. Oh, that's a problem. Why is Ashni one of your teammates? Better see if I can send her a discreet message to figure out what's going on. Kuokuana age 15. Naruto. Oh, fuzzy ring ears. How you doing? I am good as always. I recently heard something from Blake and I wanted to ask you about it. I heard from Blake. Do you mind? Nah. I don't mind. You helped me so much. If you need something, I'll do it. Oh, do you need me to take care of that creepy bull that keeps stalking Princess Nightshade? Cause I'll do it. It'll be done quick and clean. Naruto. No. That's never something you should do so willingly. Or want to do. What makes you think that is okay to do? It's not. Oh, well, you know I. Naruto, what's the matter? Why do you look like that? Naruto, look at me. What if someone was trying really bad to hurt you? To take what belonged to you and sell it? Naruto. Wait, no, you weren't. I like my tail, I didn't like the chains, and then I learned how to use this herd. There was a place where people like us could live in peace and stowaway on it. Naruto, come. I need to talk to my husband, and I think he needs to hear this too, but under no circumstances should you be joining the White Fang, okay? Not with my husband about to step down. It is not the place for you, honey. Oh, man. That fight was kick butt. You were zooming all over the place, Blake. I wish I could do that. Ruby, you can fly with your semblance. Blake chuckled softly, covering her mouth and shaking her head at her exuberant leader as they walked through the fair, looking at all the venues. But that does beg the question, now that we advanced, who should be the two of us that go on to the next round, since only two of us can advance? Oh, shouldn't it be me since I'm the leader? Ruby chirped. No, you don't. It should be who's the best amongst us and the pair of us who can work the best together as well. Wise stepped toward her team leader aggressively before waving her hand and sighing. I swear, sometimes you never learn. Well, if that's the case, a gleam came from the grin of the last member as she placed a pair of shades over her lilac eyes as she glanced at Blake and put her arm on her shoulder. I think I know who it should be, partner. What? Seeing Blake shake her head, Yang stumbled away from her. No. I will not be competing any further. It has been a risk for me to compete as much as it has been. You all should know that I'm a former White Fang operative, and the more I'm seen, the more likely they'll come looking for you. Weiss frowned, lowering her head solemnly at the thought before looking back up at her friend and sadly smiling. We're here for you. You know that, right? Oh yeah, we are. Gonna bust some heads if they come near you again. Yang pumped her fist into her hand and cracked her neck. And I'll help. Ruby jumped and hugged Blake from behind briefly, making the fauna smile at the interaction. We got your back. Blake softly smiled. She knew she shouldn't be worried. But she knew he was. Princess Nightshade. Blake froze in her tracks. Her eyes shimmered. That name. Only one person called her by it. But it wasn't his voice. She turned and there was Franus. A bat Franus. It wasn't him, so how? Who are you, punk? Yang defensively stepped in front of the petrified Blake, who hadn't moved an inch since the name was spoken as Weiss, and Ruby stepped beside Blake to support their frightened friend. Yeah, never mind that. I have a feeling I don't care. Get out of here before. Greetings from Solitas. The Faunus held out a letter to Yang, knowing they wouldn't allow him any closer. He's been trying to reach you to make sure you were safe, but you must have changed scrolls, which I dare say is a wise move, Lady Belladonna. Wouldn't want to give him any viable means of tracking you. Yeah, not taking anything from Yang started before her eyes widened, seeing a pair of hands snap the letter from the man's hand. Yo, what the? Bringing the letter to her chest, her head bowed and her eyes shimmering, Blake nervously glanced at the man she knew was a member of the White Fang. But she felt she could trust him. After all, he was one of Naruto's operatives. How is he? Blake timidly addressed her fellow Franus, fear still in her heart at what could happen. Honestly. Desmond tilted his head and gritted his teeth. The angriest I have ever seen him, considering everything that happened in such a short time. We have embargoed the rest of the White Fang currently shortly after your departure and the incident with Lav. What happened with Lav? Blake's head snapped up, her eyes narrowing as she held a hiss back in her throat. They simply pointed at the letter and gave a simple wave. He put it all in there as he has had a lot of pent-up frustration for this last year. But the one thing that has calmed him down was hearing you were safe and had finally remembered what you told him all those years ago. What? Blake's eyes widened, biting her lip as she trembled. Why? Don't ask me. Desmond turned and took a few steps from the scene. Been here long enough. Need to get back before anyone gets suspicious. Do be careful. Something doesn't feel quite right here. Kuokuana, age 13. Ma, why is it always so hot here? Isn't there a way to cool off from the heat? Oh, you again. You scared me. Ah, princess. What? Wait, I'm not a princess. But your dad is the leader of people, isn't he? Doesn't that make you a princess? No. Get that idea out of your head. That's a funny reaction. I like it. Your name is now Princess Nightshade. No. No, it is not. My name is Blake Belladonna. Okay. I'll call you Blake. Don't scream at me. You're scary like that, you know. I am not. Why are you so? Never mind. Just why is Adam busy today? What? Oh, so that means you are all alone today. So am I. Wanna hang out together? Would you go away if I said no? No. Figured you are so frustrating. Ma, look at it like this. At least you are not all by your lonesome, you know. That's the worst feeling around. When you got no one and you can only think about everything and everything bad that has happened starts coming back up. Naruto. So I just shove it all back down and say, nah, that ain't me. Gotta go out and do something. Be happy and have fun. Live life, you know. Live life, huh? Yeah, that's what I do every day. It's no fun if you don't. And sometimes, if I help someone along the way, hey, that makes the day extra special. What my goal is? To help as many people along the way while having a fun time. You know, that kind of sounds a little like my goal. It does? That's kind of awesome. What's yours? Well, you see there is just so much wrong going on in the world that I feel something has to be done. But just doing the protests isn't enough anymore. Something more needs to be done. We have to do something. There is so much inequality. Corruption and no one is doing anything and I want to help. Do something. Whoa. Wait, is all that stuff happening and going on? You didn't know? I know you live in the forest, but have you lived under a rock all your life? No, never mind. Let's do something fun. What? Naruto. What were you about to say? No. Don't you dare. Naruto. What the hell is this? What am I watching? The fuck did Adam do? Who the fuck did he join to accomplish this? What in Am's name is he thinking? This harms us more than it does any good. What good comes from harming everyone, you fuck? With a flip of the console, ripping it out of the ground as sparks flew, Naruto packed back and forth. Everyone in the room worried and glanced at one another as they physically could hear the grinding of his teeth and growls of rage rumbling from his throat and chest. And the flickering of scarlet eyes and his crimson aura flashing was not helping. Screw the embargo. Naruto kicked the console across the room, smashing it into the wall as he still hadn't calmed down, and turned to the rest of his operatives. Get Sienna on the line. Get her now. I'm done with this. If she's allowed Adam to go this far while we still have done our job while going silent, I'm about to lose it. About to march our forces to Vale right now and start a civil war, and it ain't gonna be much of one as I rip that bastard apart. On it. Desmond quickly moved to hail the high leader before calling the rest of the analysis team. Get an accurate count of what we witnessed. Fatalities. Injuries. Damages. Aril. See if you can locate Belladonna's beacon on her scroll and see if she made it. And if the rest of her team is okay. Just do it. Naruto shook and seethed, his eyes flickering between hues having dilated. He wanted to rip the horns of the bull and utterly humiliate him. This was not acceptable. This was entirely against what they stood for, what the White Fang was meant to be. He could not allow it. It was beyond reprehensible, but he should have seen it coming. The darkness consumed that one from the very moment he met him and he saw it. But Blake couldn't. She was too naive. He could, as for years he had to endure that place. Those chains. He knew what darkness was. And he was better for it. He did not want anyone to suffer that fate. So when Blake was fooled by it and went to him, how he treated her. Manipulated her. Broke her. And now this. Oh, how he wanted to open the gates of hell. Almost a year of silence and you finally break this embargo of yours. He snarled as he heard Sienna's voice as her image appeared on the monitor, almost smugly as she smiled upon Naruto's visage. I am impressed by how you stuck to your resolve. Not many would have and would crumble under the pressure. And manage to keep. Enough flattery. You know what this is about. Naruto snarled, his eyes were pointed like daggers. You have had to have seen the images by now. You know what Adam has done, how that harms our reputation. It cannot be said enough that it needs to be dealt with. I am willing to. No. What? Naruto's head snapped back and his nostrils flared. You must be joking. This cannot be accepted. A slap on the wrist will not be sufficient. Either he needs to be given to the authorities so they can process him for his crimes, or we handle him internally, whether by incarcerating him for the rest of his damn life or putting the war criminal down. What he did is not excusable. Half a kingdom is in flames because of his actions, and the White Fang are being held responsible. It is quite obnoxious, and it will be dealt with. You rest assured, Adam will not get a lenient punishment for the slander he has brought forth to our cause. Sienna responded with a sharpness in her tone before sighing as she waved her hand. Least of all, you being the one to execute such a hasty sentence. In fact, we have to talk about your little episode here that has caused quite. You're letting him off. Naruto's eyes shimmered while he gnashed his teeth and clawed his fingers into the flesh of his palm, blood dripping to the floor. After what he has done, the damage to the White Fang's reputation, you're still going to show him favoritism and let him off for this? Sienna reared her head back at this accusation, and for one of the few times in Naruto's life, he truly saw her upset. Naruto, this is not up for debate. The White Fang is my organization and I decide how it operates. You should feel honored that. Honored? Naruto whispered, but the tone of his voice stopped Sienna cold in her tracks and left everyone in the room chilled. You don't know the meaning of that word, Kon. It's what we do here on a daily basis. We honor one another by making sure our allies come back home. Making sure our friends are safe. Honoring our enemies by showing them mercy when it calls for it, and damn if it doesn't call for it, as this isn't a war. This is about our rights. I've had enough of this. With a tug of his mask, he flipped it to the side of the room as it melted into the concrete in the ground, and he snarled at the screen before flipping on a microphone, so he went live throughout the base. You know, you are right, Sienna. You control how the White Fang operates. So any White Fang operatives that wish to stay Sienna's loyal lapdogs here in Salidas, feel free to take a transport to Mistral. I will make arrangements for you to get back. For the rest of you, it's time we make a stand on our own. From this day forward, it's time for Scarlet Fang to rise in the place where the White Fang has failed. Anima age 16. What is this kid? I don't know, man, he's completed every mission handed to him like it was nothing. I've heard even when missions break down, he's allowed others to retreat and took on huntsmen on his own and completed missions after taking care of them. He took out an entire herd of Goliath on his own, along with their alpha to keep a camp safe, saw it with my own eyes. What kind of freak is he? Ain't no normal kid can do that. I would hold your tongue while in my presence lest I silence it for you. High Leader Kon. Forgive us for our ineptitude. You may go. High Leader. What are you doing out here? You may relax, child. I have come to see you personally. Me? For what honor? Do you think I would not hear of your accomplishments? And in such a short time? It has been nothing but mesmerizing, my dear child. I dare say you have already outgrown this role, and you dare not stay in it a moment longer. A higher calling is required for one as exquisite as yourself. A higher calling? You mean a promotion? Yes, a promotion. To my personal unit. And not just to it but to be the leader of it, Naruto. I think you are more than suitable for the task. After all, I've never seen anyone quite like you, and I want to see more for myself. Seriously, guys. Naruto glanced around in the mess hall and saw it was packed, staggering a step back at the sight. Didn't some of you leave? What is going on here? Many within the hall were doing their normal thing in the morning, which wasn't a surprise as it was the number of operatives still here. He had expected the number to drop dramatically after his announcement. After what he had said live on the speakers. But instead, he noticed there was a line of masks now being painstakingly redesigned. The white being replaced by a scarlet red with small claw marks gouging the right eye. He absently wondered about that design choice when they each stopped what they were doing and saluted him. No sir. Why would we? Feels like we're making an actual difference and fighting for the cause, not politics. We got it made here. This might be the most inhospitable place on Remnant, but man, we make out like bandits, I tell ya. Even the military respects our presence here. After seeing that shit that happened in Vale. And Sienna not outright condemning it. Nah, fuck that. We're fighting for equal rights, not a war. It's like you said when you first arrived and took over here, sir. Every life should matter. If we do something like that, what good does it do for our cause? Desmond responded, stepping beside Naruto. We're supposed to support one another and help to build a future for our people to thrive in. I can't see what future that leads to outside of misery. The High Leader has lost sight of that, and while you have a bit of a temper and we sometimes question some of your decisions, we can see you haven't lost sight of that goal. Here. Many of the mess hall cheered in agreement, some raising their morning cups in reveille. So, High Leader. What's our objective? Desmond grinned as his wings flapped behind him. Looking around at everyone, still mystified at what he was beholding, Naruto tilted his head. His tail swooshed behind him, almost as if it wagged before he raised his hand to his temple after quickly rubbing his eyes. You guys, damn it, you are using my own words against me. Stop that. You know how effective my crap is. We know. It's why we're here. Many more laughed joyously. Given enough time, you probably talk a Shnee into becoming poor. Now don't go praising miracles upon me, ain't that good? Naruto scratched his head and smirked as a memory came to mind. I beg to differ. We have video evidence. Nani? Naruto nearly tripped backward before rushing his fellow operative, grabbing him by his collar. Deleted. Delete it now. Give me that scroll. When's the sequel, boss? Looking forward to it. Another piped in, and Naruto's eyes bulged in horror, realizing how widely circulated the video had become. Heard she has a sister that's of age. Maybe. Go to hell and burn. All of you. Don't you open the gates. Many laughs filled the room at their new High Leader's expense when a single operative entered the mess hall, stumbling over herself as she hurriedly made her way to Naruto. Sir. Emergency. What's happening? Naruto snapped out of his playful ire, recognizing the tone, and many of the other operatives were readying their gear. Withdrawing her scroll, a message was played and Naruto's eyes narrowed as he listened. He recognized that voice. Oh, he knew it well. General James Ironwood. Uzumaki Naruto. I know we have never directly spoken before. Let me be brief. It has come to my attention that there has been tension within the White Fang and there has been perhaps a fraction within their ranks given what has happened. Given our history in the past 3 years and knowing the kind of man you are. I wish to offer you an accord as I've placed Atlas under embargo. With the fall of my dear friend and his academy and the horrendous violence in Vale, I believe it is time to discuss things like men and come to terms with a solution that benefits each of our sides. Son of Naruto muttered, watching the hologram end and spat to the side, running his hand through his hair. Yeah, that classifies as an emergency. Shit, this is gonna get rough. Wasn't already expecting to be a diplomat, you know. Salita's aged 19. Lav, how is everyone's moral? With how everything is going, it's been difficult for me to gauge how everyone is handling the transition. You worry too much. You are doing a fine job. It's taking time for everyone to get used to the training. There may be some bickering and annoyance at how grueling it has been. So there is some discontent. You took the wrong thing from what I said, there may have been some strife at first, but once you showed who you were out on the field and translated what you said into actions, things changed. Your words resonated far more. And your training has already started to yield results as our operatives are becoming less reliant on you on the field. They've taken them to heart and worked harder for the cause. It's quite impressive and we have made the most headway I've ever seen. You mean that? Do I mean that? Our men and women are doing great and are happy to be here. Faunus here in Mantle and even Atlas are enjoying a minor resurgence as laws are being passed to lax restrictions against them. This is the most positive reaction for our kind I've seen here since my mother told me Nicholas Schnee himself was fighting for us to have more rights and getting them. Wait, hold on, Schnee was fighting for the rights of Faunus. What world is this? Right. A world before that monster, Jacques married his daughter and Nicholas fell ill and gave that man his company, unfortunately. Happened long ago, when I was young, I'm afraid. Think I was 10 or something. How old are you, Lav? Never ask a lady that question, you brat. It was a fair question after that comment. Old enough to still have children. So is the High Leader, but that doesn't tell me anything. Apparently, Faunus women have a longer cycle before they hit menstruation. Why do you know? I don't want to know. Wait, did she have you on her team 200? Tell me more. Back to work, Lav. Now I got to figure out this problem. Oh, I can help with that, my leader. I know just the fix for it. Ah. This entire scenario stunk. Something felt wrong with it. Having a fair terms meeting with the head of Atlas's military did not sit well with him. His instincts screamed at him, telling him it was a trap and he and his operatives needed to leave. But not once did they react as he walked through the halls of Atlas's academy, donning his new High Leader uniform. Well, he would prefer the outfit the rest of his squad would wear as it was excellent camouflage inside the city and the exterior, with its mesh of white and grays. No, he got a crimson button-collared shirt with orange lining and orange twin chinos, buckled by a white belt. All while wearing a white overcoat with a crimson lining on the inside. Thankfully he liked orange and had a strange affinity for red and white for some reason. The designer had gone with the fire aesthetic for him. He absently wondered if his operatives had purposely made it look like fire and waited to see what happened after they sneakily got his measurements. Lav, Naruto muttered under his breath, knowing they found it within her files, and lowered his head. He wanted to know what happened to his old second-in-command. She had mysteriously vanished, and for someone as connected to the network as her, who spent most of her time on a computer, it was maddening to think they couldn't find a trace of her online. Or hadn't gotten a tip from outside of where she might be. She did manage to disappear on him. We're here. A frigid, tempered voice spoke, barely containing her contempt as they came before the office door, presenting it to him. Naruto smirked, his eyes shifting briefly downwards before he closed his eyes and tilted his head. Ah, still sore, I see. I hear they have something for that, you know. Cold blue eyes shimmered ferociously, a saber nearly being withdrawn from her holster, before Winter turned her head and sneered. You violated me. I did no such thing. I humiliated you. I went no further, but if you are willing, that is a different story with a beauty such as yourself, even if I must forget that last name of yours. Naruto opened his eyes, gleaming at the Schnee before him, who violently leered at him for his comment. No, I brought you down off your pompous perch. Showed you that through your name and everything you inherited, it still doesn't matter. And gave you a taste of what it feels like to be one of us when your father has done metaphorically to our people for years, Ms. Schnee. And oh, he is far more heavy-handed than I. Winter tensed as Naruto stepped toward her. It was only her here. She was the only guard on station for this meeting. In contrast, he had himself and 2 of his most trusted operatives. If he wanted to do something. Well, he didn't need them. She knew he was efficient enough on his own. And it seemed he was only getting better, which was somehow more frightening. But as nervous as she was, he simply swept past her, stopping by her side briefly. He's quite brutal about it, you know. Gotten worse since you left. I wonder how your sister is handling being returned to his estate. She was doing much better at Beacon, away from him, and trying to become an admirable huntress. How do you know that? Winter's eyes darted to him, her hand sliding to her saber again. If you have any plans. You needn't worry, dear. Her name isn't Nightshade, nor is she my princess. Naruto absently waved Winter's iris aside with closed eyes as Winter's eyes widened. Oh, you understand now, don't you? Good, any information on her would be appreciated if we are to have this truce. I still have a promise to fulfill to that one, and I do not go back on my word. Now then, opening the doors, his cerulean eyes gazed upon the form of a man calmly staring out his window, gazing upon the city of Atlas. General Ironwood. I believe we have an accord to discuss. As much as I like to wrap this up quickly, I fear this will take some time, so can we get on with this? In a hurry, you know. Says the one antagonizing my subordinate. That was personal business. Naruto waved it off, making his way to the middle of the office where a seating arrangement was set up and he made himself comfortable, laying his legs on the table. I still like to have fun as going through life all seriously kills the mood. Gotta have some laughs here and there. Pranks. Jokes. Otherwise, everything is just too damn solemn with the grim, the corruption and oppression of our people, you know. Gotta keep the spirit up somehow. For the briefest moment, and he had to squint to see it as the man turned, Naruto saw a sliver of a smirk on the corner of the general's lips. Morale, yes, keeping positive morale is essential, especially in dark times. It is something we cannot overlook. Let us begin, shall we? As you eloquently stated earlier, this meeting will take some time, and I'm afraid time is not something we can afford to waste. Salita's age 20. My, what a beautiful morning it is. You are only saying that as I'm here. Am I lying? Shut up and get dressed. Others are already expecting we're a thing. They think I have a thing going on with the Schnee too, so that's nothing new. Wonder who gave them that idea, Don't you give me that look. I had nothing to do with it. Yeah, sure. Don't you pull me back into the bed. I'm not done with you, you know. Got some more left if you're gonna act this way. Oh. By all means, let's continue then. We can be a little late. Like pulling teeth, Naruto muttered, sipping a glass of water as he leaned back in his chair. Wish that could have been easier for my first piece of cord. Could have fooled me. General Ironwood curiously looked upon the fox in front of him, having laced his fingers together earlier and having rested his chin on them. If I hadn't known any better, I would have said you had done this many times before as you carried yourself like a natural. Despite other playful mannerisms, every other way you carry yourself is like that of a trained soldier, yet your records show you never received any such kind of training. I dunno. Always been like this. Just learned when and how to express things to survive when I was young, I guess. Kept learning every day until I broke those chains and found my way to menagerie. Naruto shrugged, putting down his glass as James lifted his head, his two guards looked alarmed, and even Winter held back a scowl. James sighed and scowled, his eyes showing a rage yet a small pittance. Slaver camps. The last one was eradicated approximately 7.5 years ago in the Sanus region, and there hasn't been word of another since that, unfortunately, does match the time and description of how in disarray they were claiming a young fox born from the pits of hell had set their camp ablaze. Didn't know or care if the camp survived. All that mattered at the time was that I escaped and got as many of the others out as possible, you know. Didn't want to leave anyone to suffer like I was, even as my mind was hazy and clear as it was. At least, that is what I think that was running through my mind. Hard to say. Don't remember. Naruto leaned back in his chair, not trying to dig too far deep into his memories. The past was just that, no point in dwelling on it. Remember the important lessons and people, and move on. And never allow it to repeat. James hid a rare smile behind laced hands, having adjusted their position. All the more impressive. These past 3 years, I have constantly monitored you. Despite your hindrances to our operations and Jack's transportation of dust over the years, I have only come to respect what I witnessed from you and your character. And now, holding strong to your values despite the rest of your organization crumbling into the darkness, I dare say there might not be a better person to have here when the time comes. That sounds ominous. Naruto scowled, his eyes narrowing behind his mask as he gazed at the Ironman before him. If I didn't know any better, it sounds like you know something is coming. After watching the feeds of what happened in Vale and not knowing who it was the Vale branch was working with. Something is coming. Ironwood's voice was cold and devoid, his steely and filled with resolve. I reached out to make this accord for that exact reason. While I may respect your leadership and abilities, I still do not trust you to inform you of what it is, but I do know we are in immediate danger and the threat by all means is incomprehensible. By all statistical odds, we will most likely lose, but I'm not willing to concede without a fight, as I believe we can win. There has to be a way, and if it takes making peace with the people, I am willing to absolve my foolish pride. Holding back a growl in his throat, gnashing his teeth as his eyes dilated, Naruto sat up straight. So the three on the feed are that much of a threat. Or it's what's guiding them, as none seem entirely like the mastermind. Sliding a drive from his pocket over, Ironwood's gaze did not falter as he kept his gaze firmly locked. It contains all necessary information of currently known operatives. Well, I may have placed an embargo on Atlas and Mantle. Naruto held a fanged grin at context as he tilted his head and stood up from the seat. As labeled criminals, we don't fall inside the eyes of the law. Yeah, read you loud and clear. I know you have a penchant for restraint and mercy, and it is a reason I respect you, the general stopped Naruto. But these people are not able to be saved. Maybe one. Maybe two. But look what they did to Vale. Look at what they are willing to do. I know you only open the gates when absolutely necessary, but lethal force should be authorized against those willing to burn a kingdom to the ground. Naruto waved his hand, glancing his back at Ironwood while holding the device in his hand. You gave me this that is now for me to decide. I already have one person that Gates is destined for. I'm not looking forward to opening it for others, you know. Though gotta say black hair bitch might need to be Ash too. Taking his leave as he moved to his operatives and the door, ready to get out of here and back to his base, Naruto was stopped one last time. And this time. It left his blood cold as Ironwood's voice echoed behind him. One last thing I thought you should know. Lav ACO has been spotted recently in Atlas. From my intelligent operatives, it's rumored she will do something tonight at a socialite fundraiser run by my good friend Jack. Thought you should know. Without another word, Naruto swept through the doors with haste, his eyes glistening as his guards had difficulty keeping pace. There was no time to lose. Not if he could stop whatever she was about to do. Lav, we need to talk. Salida's age 21. Desmond, how's it looking? Any progress on the encryptions we got from the data stolen from the military? Good as ever, sir. We're making good progress on it. Think in a few days, we'll have it cracked and we'll know more about their new project. Good to hear. I could work on it and get it done faster. Lav, you have enough responsibilities as it is. Leave them be. You trained them. Let them work, you know. Says the one that can't let the operatives go out alone. Fair enough. Shots fired. So you let me do my job and I let you do your job. Or. No Naruto, no. Naruto, yes. Let go of me. No, don't you do this in front of everyone. Whoa. Look at that. Told you they were a thing. Go do it. Make a new video. Say what now? The cold bitter wind swept through her hair. Sent a spine-chilling shiver down her back as she looked down at all those enjoying the night's festivities. So callous. So spiteful. Hateful. Prejudice. All for the name of charity. She spat on the window she watched from above. It was disgusting. They didn't care. They were spending lean for prestige and effects, nothing more. To attract more wealth. They didn't give a shit about what happened in Vale. And they certainly never cared about what happened to her people. If this is how they treated the near fall of a kingdom. We never stood a chance, Lav whispered, closing her eyes as she felt the wind shift behind her and knew what it was. You are championing a lost cause, Naruto. These people will never listen. They won't open their eyes to our plight, they won't even open their eyes to the plight of another kingdom. What chance do we have? Lav, Naruto stood before Lav as she turned around to face her old leader, eyes misted with tears. It's not too late. You really went and did it. Lav's face fell, looking upon Naruto's visage, and shuddered. You fool, this is only going to make things worse for our people. We can't be divided any further. There is only one right choice. The hell there is. Naruto stepped forward, gnashing teeth as he stared directly into her tearful lavender eyes. Fuck, I'm probably wrong too, you know. We all are. But I damn sure know whatever cause that Adam is championing, this bloodshed that he is willing to stain upon the world for his revolution, for the people backing him, is not worth it. There is no other way. Lav's eyes glistened defiantly as she stepped back, realizing her back against the window. You haven't lived to see what I have. Know the horrors our people have gone through, and it hasn't worked. None of this has worked. It's time for something new. Listen to yourself. Naruto quickly closed the gap, placing his hand on her shoulders and gazed down into her lavender eyes. You are giving up. How long have you been fighting for this cause? Never having given in. And now, suddenly, you're just willing to throw the world into chaos for our cause. You are an idiot. Did you see the feeds of Vale? You know that didn't help anyone, and you must know many Franus were hurt and probably killed because of Adam's actions. turning her head away as tears streamed from her eyes, her head sunk away as her body trembled. I. You know it, I know it. This isn't Naruto softly smiled, gazing down at her weary form, before his eyes widened as a sharp pain seared through his right abdomen, penetrating his intestines. Stumbling back as she shoved him away, he fell to one knee as teary lavender eyes coldly looked upon him. You have always been too soft, Naruto. These people don't deserve your kindness. They deserve to burn in the pits of hell. What the hell, Lav? Naruto staggered back to his feet, applying aura to his wound as it regenerated, the damage weaving as crimson strands repaired it piece by piece. Are you mad? You know how this will go. I know. Lav closed her eyes as she dropped the blood-soaked knife and held out a small handheld device. But you have no choice but to react now, my high leader. A detonator. Naruto's eyes shimmered as he watched her thumb hovering over the trigger switch, her eyes misty and filled with tears. Lav. No. There are better ways to handle this. There isn't. These people deserve to burn. Lav declared, his eyes fueled with passion despite a haze of tears filling them. So what is going to be, my high leader? Are you going to let me walk away and this place burn? Or are you going to open the gates and consume me? Neither. Naruto roared, leaping onto her in a blink, flash shattering as he tackled through the window, surprising her as his hand wrapped around hers. This thing is mine now. Cries filled the ballroom beneath as glass shards scattered on the floor beneath. And a heavy thud slammed hard into the floor as a brief struggle ensued that was blatantly one-sided. You fool. Shut the hell up, Lav. Naruto roared, ripping the detonator out of her hand and tossing it to the side as many horrified expressions, some recognizing what it was, and screams filled the hall as the device melted on the floor. You think I was gonna let you get away with this or kill ya? You have another thing coming. Nah, there are consequences for your actions, and you have to face them sooner or later. As the volume of the room continued to intensify, he quickly analyzed his surroundings to try and take command of the situation and see what he could do. Most of it was terrified socialites. Horrific, they'd never get out of here in time. There, of course, was Jacques Schnee, the worst of all of them, furious at what he was seeing. Typical. Save his life, and he would still find blame in him, finding a way to put himself behind two far more useful people. Well, what are you waiting for, General? Take the scum out. General. Schnee. Naruto barked, his head snapping in their direction. Get these people out of this building. There are bombs rigged in here and ready to blow. What? Weiss shimmered, her eyes wide in shock at what she just witnessed and everything happening previously. Do as he says. Ironwood's voice commanded, stern and authoritative, turning to the crowd. Everyone evacuate immediately. It is not safe. My foolish high leader, Lav whispered, her hand gently reaching up and caressing his whiskered cheeks. You are too soft, you know. It's why it pains me to do this. You are just too damn good of a person, and it hurts, but I was prepared for this outcome. As I truly believe in you, but not your message. Lav, with her other hand, gently reached her blouse and ripped it open. You gotta be kidding me. Naruto's eyes flickered in horror at the sight before him as Lav laid back against the floor as she bared it all before him. Is that the bombs? Weiss's voice shrieked, recognizing the situation as she turned back, hearing what was being said while attempting to evacuate before creating a sigil to increase her speed and trying to pull the Faunus that was attempting to save everyone here off the insane bomber. Wait. Get away from her. She's going to explode. And her torso was strapped with another set of firebombs as she flipped the switch when she pulled her blouse open. Goodbye. Lav, no. This heat. What is this? What is happening? What is this thrumming in my ears? My chest. This flashing in my eyes. What am I seeing? Who is that? Why do I feel like I know this person? She's beautiful. Heavenly. For a non-Faunus. Wait, kids. That blonde one is annoying. Little girl is alright. Cute. Like her. Looks like Lav, almost. If we were to have a human child. Still don't understand why I'm seeing any of this. Did the heavenly woman say my name? How does she know that name? What is going on? Annoying kid knows it too. What is this? Wait. That reflection. It looks like me. But older. And without my tail. What's going on here? I demand an explanation. These images can't be real. Why am I being shown these? Why am I feeling so much from this? Wait, hold on. She's calling me by name again. Why does my heart skip a beat every time she does that? Why? I don't know who you are, Wom. Hinata, your name is Hinata. Why do I know that? How do I know? Hokage. That title. The boy just called me that and it fills me with such pride, yet why do I get a sense of remorse? Why does it mean so much to me, yet I feel sad about it? Gah, this isn't very clear. Why are these images playing before me? Why do I feel like these images belong to me? Like they are mine? Was I this person? It feels like it. His voice. His cadence. His actions are similar to mine. No, they are much like mine. Maybe at one time, I was this person, and when his time came to an end, I became who I am now. How does that work? I thought when we die. There's that title again. The boy calls me, this time with a jealous tone but a hint of anger. And yet I understand it for some reason. I feel disappointed somehow, yet there is an odd sense of happiness. What is this? The boy looks like a little shit that should beat like the bull. But even then, I have some. Is it why every time I look at Adam, I sneer at him? Yet some part of me can't help but pity the little sniveling chicken shy. Hinata, those eyes, pale lavender eyes. So gentle and warm. I could do no wrong in them. Damn it. Why is it so hot? It feels like it is. The explosion. Lav. No. Hinata. Forgive me. I can't allow this to go any further. Gates of hell. A thunderous roar had ruptured through the room. The nightmarish burning heat had flooded it in seconds after a flash of light that blinded her. She was too slow. The hellish fire engulfed the Faunus, which by all means looked like he was one of the White Fang that attempted to save everyone here. It was an odd feeling to watch that after what happened in Beacon, but in the end, it didn't matter. She wasn't good enough. This felt exactly like what happened at Beacon all over again. People would suffer because she just wasn't good enough to help. Weiss truly was a failure. Why did she ever think she was good enough to lead when she could even help people? No, Professor Osborn made the right call. Ruby was the correct choice. But even she couldn't do anything during that tragedy, but here. Her friend could have done something. She would have been able to react. Not her. She was a miserable failure and she was about to be purged in this flame if she was lucky. At least then, she wouldn't have to deal with how her father treated her any longer. All these miserable people didn't seem to care about what was happening. Gates of hell. Weiss's eyes widened as all the air was sucked from the room. Her very breath was taken and the flames that had expanded and flashed in mere seconds were drawn back to the sheer explosion they had come from. What was this? What kind of semblance was this? Her eyes shimmered in terror and awe as she stumbled forward, trying to come to a stop at the scene she saw before her eyes. A roar echoed, shaking the foundations of the ballroom gallery, shattering all the windows and cracking the floor. The Faunus. An eerie crimson aura with hollow orange flames seeping from within coated his entire being. It was like a shade was wrapped around him, trying to possess him. It wasn't even like Yang's burn. This was something entirely else. It was like a malevolent beast had come forth from his aura. A fox writhing in pain, its head laying on his shoulder, mouth open ready to devour with hellish intent. All the while, 9 slender tails stretched and shielded his very body, caressing him in a caring manner. But why was it getting hotter? Why did it feel so much? Her eyes widened in horror as her eyes were drawn to the epicenter of the explosion and saw what had happened. The Faunus's glowing hand pierced through the explosives and straight into the woman's chest. Her entire body was searing gold, but even then, what looked like tears were flaking from her eyes as she looked up and into the eyes of the other Faunus. Her voice carried and Weiss felt her heart clench. Naruto, forgive me. I could never fault you, Hinata. His voice was quieter than a whisper and she felt her heart sink. Were these two lovers? Then that meant. He had. Weiss gasped as her body dissolved into white-hot ashes, seeping straight into the fox's mouth as it swallowed every last drop until nothing was left of the other Faunus. And then, as a golden-orange heated seal appeared on the stomach of Aura, its maw slaw shut close like that of a gate. The fox let out one last roar, shattering the very ground itself next to the Faunus as he held his eyes closed before the aura withdrew and receded into his being. His eyes opened behind the mask, and even then, she could see the haze of tears held within as he clearly could not hold his emotions back as he staggered to his feet. Well, wait, are you waiting for now, James? Arrest this man. Weiss could hear her father's voice in the back as people could still not evacuate fast enough. Arrest the man that just saved our lives. Are you insane, Jack? James questioned her father's motives with narrowed eyes. One act does not redeem someone from years of crimes, James. You should know that. Jacques venomously spat, recognizing the Faunus, and seethed at his presence. He should be rotting in a jail cell and be made pay off all the damages he caused to me over the. Shut the hell up, you insufferable prick. Naruto's eyes glistened through his mask, his breath bated and heated. If you had the balls to listen and understand, maybe we wouldn't have to do what we do. Show more restraint and we would show just as much, you know. But nah, you just keep making things worse, and I'm tired of it. It's why we splintered from the White Fang. Can't be recognized as part of that wanton organization. Nah, we, the Scarlet Fang, have our own goals and motivations, but we're still as active as ever. We won't bend a knee, but we're gonna show we're still better than you by not lowering ourselves to your pathetic standards. Naruto grinned as his eyes flashed scarlet briefly. We gonna make you listen and show everyone Francis deserves to be treated like everyone else, damn it. Weiss froze. Well, it was in a different context, this wasn't the first time she heard something similar. No. Those words had come from someone dear to her. A friend. When she and Blake had their first real dispute, she realized she was a Faunus. And once part of the White Fang. And now. She was someone she worried about daily, hoping she was okay. Blake Weiss murmured, bringing her hand to her chest, her eyes shimmering at the thought of her friend as she lowered her head. And the moment she took her eyes off him, she gasped as she suddenly turned around to face everyone, an arm around her neck tightly squeezing as another gripped her arms. Unhand me. If you wish to get out of here and reunite with Princess Nightshade, follow my lead. His voice whispered into her ear. Her eyes widened. That name. She had heard that before. When that Francis that frightened Blake gave that letter. This was who it came from. Snarling as his grip was tight and she hated every second of being restrained, her eyes gazed upon her father. How he had been treating her since she came back home. Like she was some doll. And after tonight, she knew whatever was going to happen would be horrible after what she had done before this mess. She could very well end up like her sister and taken out of the family's will if he so chooses. Closing her eyes, tears building with a burning hatred, she snapped her head as tears burned in the corner of her eyes. Silently, she gave her consent by relaxing as much as she could while attempting to look like she was resisting. It was a difficult balance to act, but she was a good actress. She swore she could feel him smirking as he stepped forward with her, watching the reaction of her petrified father and the stern expression on the general's face. She wanted to somehow to him this was an act, especially after how he somewhat defended her actions with his words but Weiss couldn't. If this was what it took to get away from here, she would grasp at this lifeline. It was a risk, but she had to take it. This was a person Blake trusted. So she would believe in them as well. Well, ladies and gentlemen. She could hear him speak as he directed her through the crowd and toward the exit, giving a show as he did. Much as this was a pleasure, you know, saving your asses from certain death, I've got business to attend so, you know. Ah. Weiss was suddenly hoisted onto his shoulder, feeling her wrist bound faster than she could react. Wait, ah. Catch me if you can. His voice resonated as they exited the building, leaping for above any rich socialites can ever dream of catching and knowing there would be no chase. And as her ponytail whipped in the wind, she seethed at her position, gazing at the back of the man she was held in. Oh, if he didn't hold his word. Naruto. Wake up, silly. 5 more minutes. You're going to be late for work again if you don't get up now. The kids are already up, eating breakfast, and waiting to see their dad. But I don't wanna. Uzumaki Naruto. This coming from the man that always wanted to be Hokage since he was a boy. Why I never thought I would live to see the day. Why, if Boruto or Himawari were to hear such a thing from their father. Bug kick me while I'm down, you know. Alright, you win. I'm getting don't you giggle at me, damn it. I'll bring you into this bed. I got some pent-up frustration to work out, you know. Oh, no, that would be such a shame you know I got the fix for that, dear. Bed over here, Hinata. If I'm gonna be late, I'm gonna make it a good reason. Shikamaru can handle some of the burden while I'm out. Wait. The kids are still. We have seals on the room. They won't hear a thing. Oh. Closing his eyes and letting out a steam-filled breath, Naruto gazed at the bullhead his men were preparing for launch. Another. What were these? There. With a simple cut of her restraints he had bound her in during their exit, Weiss rubbed her wrists, warily gazing at the faunus here in the abandoned warehouse they no doubt used for facilitating missions in Atlas. Had to make our escape realistic. You are free to go if you wish. You are not obligated to trust me, nor should you, given your family's recent history with me. Based on what I learned in these last few months, I only assumed you wished to escape. Seriously? Weiss squinted her eyes at the fox faunus in front of her before scowling. You've been keeping your eye on us. That sounds creepy. You know that. Not to mention that name of yours for her, yeah, got some weird vibes. He sighed but only nodded and closed his eyes. I am painfully aware of what it looks like, but with what happened, I feel I was justified in keeping an eye on Blake. She is one of the few people I can call my friend, and I've always worried about her safety since we were kids, you know. Tucking her head, her eyes shimmering at the memories of what happened at Beacon, Weiss took a breath. Thinking logically about what he said, what she knew and the situation, she brought her eyes back to his. Well, since you seemingly know more about me than I would like you know then that I'm without much choice in this matter. My home is no longer that. My only options are heading to Mistral to find my sister. She's not there. Weiss's eyes shimmered in surprise and sputtered. But, that's what. She's here. Naruto tilted his head at the Shnee and grinned. Had an accord meeting with the general this morning, and my dear Winter was there, so there is no need to head to Mistral if you are looking for her. Weiss stumbled, her eyes wide. If she was here, then that meant her plan on heading to Mistral if she did escape would have been fruitless. An accord. Weiss expressed her displeasure as she crossed her arms over her chest. I know what happened at Beacon was devastating, but in accord with the same. We are not the same group, Ms. Schnee. Naruto snarled, his eyes flickering scarlet briefly, making her stumble. We unaligned ourselves from them for a reason. Get that through your head, you hear? Now if you wouldn't mind, if you want to get to your sister, you might want to head to the academy. That's where she was. I got a job to do. Naruto turned his back on Weiss and turned to his men working on the bullhead, preparing for their departure while leaving her disgruntled. Is everything ready for liftoff? No damage, and we got extra fuel. It's gonna be a long ride to Menagerie. All good and ready to leave whenever you are ready, sir. An operative saluted while holding up his scroll. Report state skies are mostly clear and turbulence should be minimal. Air traffic here is minimal, so the general must expect us to leave shortly, so we need to take this opportunity quickly, sir. Menagerie. Weiss whispered as she remembered what he had said at the event, her eyes shimmering. Blake, wait. What now? Naruto was agitated at the interruption, gazing back at the Schnee. In a bit of a hurry, and I thought you made up your mind. Weiss flinched at the cold stare before mustering the courage to speak, her crystal gaze meeting his. What you said to me as everything was happening. Is it true? Are you really? That's where I am heading currently. Naruto's voice resonated, fully turning his intent back to the younger Schnee sister. Your sister kindly managed to dig up information for me on her whereabouts. According to them, Blake was last seen heading back home on a cruise ship, which cannot bode well with how much presence the White Fang have there, especially his faction. His faction? Weiss inquired, raising her eyebrow at this. You mentioned she was in danger and needed assistance, and I recall her mentioning she had issues with someone she trusted in the past. If you are worried Adam and I are the same person, rest assured we are not. I've told her to leave his side since I've known her. Naruto addressed as he could see suspicion in her gaze. No, I met her mother first when they were in the process of stepping down from the heads of the White Fang. She taught me to read and write, actually. Mother? Heads of the White Fang. Weiss stumbled in alarm, her eyes shimmering as she realized why her friend was so passionate about defending the honor of the group despite being criminals now. She didn't tell you this. Blake. Naruto tilted his head, wondering how she was living with teammates she was supposed to be able to trust without telling them about herself at all. Did she trust any of you enough to tell you anything? What's that supposed to mean? Weiss's eyes gleamed before she looked away dejectedly. At least, I thought we did, as she was opening up and expressing her feelings. I know we were afraid to say some things, but I trusted her. She trusted you, Naruto said, throwing Weiss for another surprise. She has never been an open person. I'm afraid this incident probably only has made her withdraw more into herself. So, you know, hearing she was opening up to you guys is good. It means she did trust you. Guess it just meant she didn't want to share about her family for some reason. Her eyes widened again, a soft smile expressed on her lips momentarily. A pained expression then washed over it and her eyes glistened. Maybe I can see some reasons. Sir, one of his Scarlet Fang operatives spoke hesitantly, eyeing the Schnee warily, before looking at his high leader. We need to head out if we want to get through this window unscathed. A straight flight to Menagerie is not an easy trip and getting caught would ensure we wouldn't make it back to base, let alone the long trip. Yeah, I hear ya. Naruto nodded before turning his attention back to the younger Schnee. Well, as enlightening as this was. I want to go with you. Weiss blurted, stumping the fox, and several operatives turned their heads and looked awkwardly at the young daughter of their longtime arch-nemesis here in Atlas. Undeterred by the stupefied look she was receiving and the head tilt from the blonde fox, she waved her hand and staunchly stood before him. She refused to be denied. If it means leaving here and helping people helping a friend, I want to do it. The last images I saw of her are stuck in my head and I can't forgive myself if I don't know if she isn't okay. I don't care that I am going unprepared and disarmed. If it means finding a way to help one of my friends right now. You had me sold at helping a friend. Naruto's tail swished behind him and he grinned, interrupting the Schnee's passionate speech before hopping onto the railing of their older model bullhead and extending an offered hand to her. But we really are running on a tight window here, so get in the damn bullhead if you are coming. Gotta put a step on here, Snow Queen. Don't call me that. Weiss spat with venom, accepting the offered hand with minor hesitation after that barb thrown at her, and as he helped assist her into the bullhead, she decidedly did not enjoy the immaculate grin on his face. Why are you looking at me like that? Oh, Blake will explain everything when we manage to rendezvous, Snow Queen. Naruto couldn't help his tail swishing fervently at the playful banter, as he hadn't had this kind of fun messing with someone in years, and as her cold eyes frigidly pierced his. No ill intent, I promise, but she'll know exactly what you're talking about when you bring it up. Trust me. Deeply unsettled by his grin while also being very put off by his actions, Weiss huffed and moved to the far side of the bullhead. She wanted nothing to do with the strange Francis for now. Maybe when he stopped acting so strange and like a mixture between Yang and Ruby. That was a terrifying combination of traits. Closing the door after the last of his men were aboard, he motioned to his pilot, his face taking on a more serious tone and expression as his eyes darkened and focused. "Get us out of here and let's make up time. Gonna have to make a quick stop back at the base because there has been a minor change of plans, you hear? This Schnee is gonna need materials to forge her weapon as I'm not gonna take a half-trained huntress with us with her damn weapon, so that's priority number 1. Dad. What is it, Naruto? I'm rather busy, you know. Why do you have that look on your face? Is something the matter? We hardly get to see you anymore." "Oh, I see son, I'm sorry, but I've been busy." Himawari won't say anything as she wants to make you happy. She knows what this job means to you, so do I, so I will speak for her. How many times have you forgotten to read her bedtime story this week, you know? The entire month. Where I had to do it for you. Forgotten your promise to keep training with me even after you finally took the job from Rakudame Haddock. What happened to that, damn it? Mom barely can keep up and I've been doing chores around the house to help her, you know. Well, Nani. Have I been letting my responsibilities at home slip that much? You're damn right you've been slipping. I thought the Hokage was supposed to be the best there is and the best there ever will be. That's what you always told me. That's not what you are right now, Dad. I just want my dad back, my hero. Naruto, I damn it, I did promise and I'm breaking a promise. Ah, hell nah. Lord Hokage. I have your schedule report. We need to take a moment. Later, Shikamaru. I'll make the time, you hear? I just realized I'm failing in my basic duties and breaking a damn promise and I cannot bear the thought. If I can't hold up my principles to my family, how am I supposed to do it for the entire village, you know? So Naruto, get your act together. I'm taking you out and get your act together, son. And then I'm gonna make sure Himawari gets her nightly stories again if it's the last thing I do. You better damn believe that. Alright. That's the dad I know. Let's do this. Oh, wait. Don't forget we need to get Mom a present. It's nearly your anniversary. Nani? How did I forget that? Don't you look smugly at me, you little ga. You are gonna regret asking for this training. You know that. Dad. Why are you grinning like that? Why do I suddenly feel an overwhelming sense of doom? You should gonna teach you a technique Kakashi-sensei taught me when I first became a genin. Awesome. How good is it? Is it anything like Grandpa's Rasengan? I still want to learn that. Oh, you're gonna find out just how excruciating the technique is. Why? More of these memories again. Why was he having these now of all times? Were they really his? Of his old life? Or were they something else? What could be causing him to have them? The semblance was first thought, but now he was alone with a select few of his operatives and the Schnee girl. He would know exactly where it would be coming from. And the most likely candidate. She had a hereditary semblance, so it didn't make sense for her to cast and give him these visions, unless she somehow had to. So why did he see these images? Was he really this Uzumaki Naruto? Nanadame Hokage of Konohagakure? The number 1 unpredictable, hyperactive knucklehead ninja? That one seemed plausible, actually. He wasn't sure about the ninja part, but the rest of that was still credible even to this day. Some days even he wasn't sure what he was gonna do and had more energy than he knew what to do with. And, oh, how often Blake called him a stubborn, hard-head fool. And she wasn't wrong. So now, these memories were leaving a bitter taste in his mouth. If he didn't know what to think of them and if they were real or not, what was he to think of them? Was he to accept if they were real? That he was this person? Or? His face fell. The way Lav spoke. How she called his name. It wasn't like how she had referred to him any time before. Even in her most tender moments with him, with how much care she expressed. She never said his name with that inflection. And that made him think. In her last moments. Did she realize her life? And have the memories of Hinata? Was she Hinata, as she looked so strikingly similar to her? Are you okay? Weiss's voice softly echoed in his ears. His eyes slowly blinked open, letting the blurry beams of light pierce into his vision and scald his retinas. Adjusting to the light, his gaze focused on the Schnee, who was fixated upon him, her crystalline gaze staring at him with concern. You are quite pale, and you look to be shaking. Are you getting sick? Naruto repressed a snarl, pushing back the memory and the mere notion. Instead, he shook his head and turned away. I don't get sick. Never have and I never will. There is no need to worry over me for such a trivial matter. Never been sick how? That doesn't make Weiss look baffled at the declaration before she was suddenly cut off by one of the operatives, a blonde mouse Francis with short silver hair, taking a few items from one of the compartments. It looked like a sports drink and protein supplement bar, and Naruto caught them almost absently with a toss. Regardless, you don't look well, High Leader. Your mental exhaustion is taking a toll on your body. You need to eat, hydrate, rest, and recover on the trip to Menagerie, as I recommended. You may be our High Leader, but I will have no problem usurping authority and pulling you off the field if I deem you unfit. You wouldn't dare, Lucy. Naruto scowled as he met the mouse's gaze, who did not flinch. I would and I will. She retorted without hesitation, her ears flicking in annoyance as Weiss looked thoroughly impressed as the woman did not back down from her leader's venomous response. You gave all field medics the responsibility to make sure everyone got back home safely, and if we deem someone is at risk we are to keep them from the mission, High Leader. Besides, you can run the operation from the command field center and the bullhead just fine. Naruto scowled before clicking his tongue on the roof of his mouth while opening the drink, forcing down some of the liquid and then biting the protein bar. I'm starting to question all this defiance I've been getting lately. Using my methodology against me. You know, I'm gonna make you regret this. Duly noted, High Leader. Lucy closed her eyes, almost content with the results, as she pulled several more bottles and bars and began handing them across to everyone in the vessel. Weiss was even surprised as she was handed a bottle and a bar, not expecting generosity to be shown from someone formerly of the White Fang after the troubles they had with her family. But she only smiled as she handed them to her and then made her way to the pilot and stacked a bottle and energy bar beside him. However, she had to repress a snort as she heard the pilot's amused tone and a light giggle from Lucy as she did so. He seems to forget that attitude reflects leadership. Naruto's eyes darted to the pit as he took another bite of his protein bar. Pulling the rest of his wrapper off and wadding it into a ball, he curved it into the back of his pilot's head with a single sidearm toss. What the fuck, sir? I'm flying here. Your sass has been noted in your future evaluation, you know. Naruto barked before taking another drink, grumbling as he did. The pilot only seemed to grin. Oh, no. Whatever will I do? That promotion to management that I always wanted. Ah, Naruto flinched as he feigned wiping something off him, looking quite disgusted. The sarcasm is strong today. You're gonna drown everyone if you keep that up. That'd be an interesting cause of death. Drowning 10,000 feet above sea level while flying. Can't say anyone would expect that. Another operative snorted, holding back a laugh. Tilting her head as the odd conversation took place, putting aside the pieces she was trying to craft together miserably to make a haphazard Mertnister, Weiss couldn't help but admire the camaraderie she was witnessing. While it wasn't anything similar to what she had seen with her team, it was still something special. The bonds they seemingly had. How much care there was for each member, which all the more impressive given that one was the leader of the entire organization now, whereas he was only the leader of the branch before. But still, that was nonetheless a significant feat. To inspire so many and treat them both as his subordinates yet manage a relationship. How are you holding up? The mouse Fronis's voice, Lucy, broke her thought and Weiss looked up and into her beady green eyes, she gingerly smiled at her. You best keep your strength up as well. It's a long trip, so if anything happens when we arrive, we must be at maximum efficiency, Lady Huntress. Blushing out embarrassment at the title, Weiss frowned as she looked at the parts in her hand. Oh, I'm only a huntress in training. I don't know if I'm even that anymore. Not after what happened. A huntress regardless of the preposition, Ms. Schnee, Lucy responded, sitting in front of her and crossing her legs. The title is still in the name. Did you not go out and do missions that required you to defend the kingdoms from the Grim? Help with bounties and against criminals? Well, of course. Weiss flushed, becoming further embarrassed and not sure how to respond. Then you, by definition, are a huntress. Lucy's smile only brightened as her ears flicked. You are defending Remnant from the threat of Grim and helping keep the streets clean of crime when possible. You are doing a great service, Ms. Schnee. That is something to be proud of. Weiss held a gaze of astonishment, her lips quivering at the Faunus before her, praising her for her commitment to being a huntress. It was so confusing. She knew most Faunus would be prejudiced against her because of her last name, her family. Even Blake held those same eyes at first now that she thought back on it. But here was this woman, a part of an offshoot of the White Fang that excommunicated themselves from them for what happened in Beacon and Vale, was praising her. What irony was this? What world was this? Was this a dream? If so, she would wake up in a foul mood, knowing what would likely await her. I am not worthy of such praise. Weiss's expression faded meekly as she stared at the floor before a mild sigh escaped her lips. Can I ask you a question? Yes, Lucy looked at the Schnee, a concerned look upon her brow, seeing the mood shift in the young lady. Feel free. How can you, a Faunus that has been actively opposing my father of all people, say something so positive about me, a Schnee? Weiss's gaze lifted from the floor of Bullhead as she looked expectantly at Lucy, a peculiar expression adorning her face. I'm afraid I don't understand. Well, I've come to learn and understand more about some of what is wrong through my friend's eyes. I can't say that it would be wrong to hate me. I too am a Shnee, just like my father. You're nothing like your father, that's for damn sure. He is not anything you want to be like, and both you and your sister thankfully seem to be aware of that and taking more respectable professions. Naruto snorted as the rest of the bullhead's chatter went silent, and it seemed everyone had heard what she had said, making Weiss scald a deep crimson from embarrassment. And you are nothing like your sister either, if I had to say. You are something else entirely for what little I've seen or heard from you. You might carry yourself prim and properly, but you got something more to you, I can tell you that. Definitely not as rigid as she is. Not all of her is rigid, boss. Some of her is quite jig fuck the back of my head. Are you trying to get us killed? I will crash and burn this craft if you bring that up right now. Naruto had tossed his half-used sports drink into the back of the pilot's skull, his eyes shifting scarlet momentarily as each operative went rigid, knowing just how serious their high leader was. Don't think I want. Yes sir. Roger that, high leader. The pilot gulped, focusing on flying the bullhead, while Weiss's head snapped toward the pilot before it swiveled back to Naruto. What? What was that about? She held an inquiring, almost displeased inflection in her voice. That almost sounds like. You needn't worry. I have a history with your sister, and I know her relatively decently, so believe me when I say you are something unique. Snow Queen. Naruto nervously returned his attention to Weiss, his grin saying everything. And Weiss scowled. She knew there was more than he was letting on. What kind of history did the two of them have? He was a criminal. She was a huntress of the Atlas military and reasonably high up in the chain of command. Honestly, it was impressive as she had only been a part of the military for a few years and had earned the general's trust enough to move through the ranks so quickly. Don't call me that. Weiss snarled, her eyes shining, flustered at the sound of the name as her eyes squinted at the fox. Stop doing that. I know you are doing it on purpose now. I don't like it, so stop. Don't smile. It's fun. It's not a game. Why are all of you looking at each other like that? We let Ms. Belladonna explain. Lucy turned away from her fellow operatives after sharing a knowing look with all of them. She knows him better than most and well after last night. Noticing the forlorn look that crossed her face and all of the operatives, Weiss's face dropped, her eyes briefly darting toward the Scarlet Fang leader as the thought of what happened during the fundraising event. The thoughts of how tender his voice was despite the brutal act of what he had to do to save everyone's lives from that explosion. How horrid of a scene that was. Where life had to be sacrificed no matter what to save lives. There was no victory in that scenario, and by looking at everyone here. She seemed correct in her assertion that the two had a deep connection. Enough of the depression. Naruto's voice snapped everyone out of their funk as he suddenly slid next to Weiss, surprising her and making her look at him questioningly. Now, what is going on here? What are you struggling with? We need to be prepared for anything we get there as we have no clue what we're going to see arrive. Hopefully, everything is peaceful and we won't have to worry about anything, but the way Sienna was talking about not punishing Adam has me worried. Weiss was almost alarmed at how he was able to act so calmly, almost so callously after something. But looking into his cerulean eyes. She could see the shimmer behind them. So silently putting aside, knowing very well what he was doing, she looked back down at the part she was struggling with before. Scowling at them, Weiss picked some of the pieces and shook her head. Some of this isn't gonna work in this state. I can remake some of Mertnister in this state, but I need heat. A forge. Otherwise, there is nothing I can do like. Is that all? Naruto scoffed and earned a wicked glance from the Shnee before his eyes burned scarlet and he held out his left hand for her. You are talking to a literal living furnace here. If you need heat, I can dial up the temperature you need. I helped Blake forge Gamble Shroud, so I know a thing or two about making a blade if need be, you know. As Weiss's eyes flickered upon hearing that, Naruto gave a fanged grin at her surprise. Now, let's get this done. Let's get you your weapon so you can feel a little more comfortable by the time we land, alright? Wouldn't want you to be all out of sorts if something were to happen, now would we, Snow Queen? Stop calling me that. Kuokuan age 15. Naruto, my child, please reconsider. Sorry, Papa Cat, I can't with everything I've seen, I think there needs to be a change in this world, you know. As much as I love peace as the next person, it doesn't always work. Sometimes, a little bit of force is necessary. Not everyone listens, you know. So you gotta make 'em listen. I cannot say I disagree. But violence often begets violence. Choosing to be aggressive will only draw the ire of the world onto the world back. Results will be made, yes, but will it help? It depends on how you do it. Explain. Well, you can't just be aggressive and only wanting. Not gonna get anywhere with an attitude like that. There's gotta be empathy and understanding for the other side, knowing what they believe in, you know. Feeling what they are feeling and knowing where they come from. I see that as much like my philosophy. But at the same time, not willing to lie down and take what they're giving you and punching them right in the mouth repeatedly for not listening to your problems. And then when they're laying in the dirt, feeling the same pain you felt for so long, you make them listen to you and hear what you have to say. Oh. That is a lot different now. I suppose that could be effective in some cases when absolutely necessary. That's what I'm saying, though. In cases when needed. I like peace. Peace is good. But it doesn't always work. And then there is stuff like when someone you care for gets hurt or worse. Child, I know what you've been through. If people I love are suffering, I gotta do something. I can't just sit back and do nothing. And if someone I care for were to, I don't know what I would do. I can't help but think of that place again. And the scorching flames that burned nearly everyone. Weiss felt her nerves bundle in her stomach as the bullhead had been descending for a few moments. Night had fallen as it had taken so long, and traveling halfway across the world, they had traveled through so many time zones. But now they were close. If everything went according to plan, for the first time in several months, she would see a friendly face once more. Who probably wouldn't be excited to see her here, of all places. Or excited, given how everything panned out at Beacon. She was so afraid and skittish that she wasn't sure how'd she react if. "Sir, you aren't gonna like what I have to tell you." The pilot's voice echoed from the cockpit, forcing Naruto to leave his seat, making Weiss's stomach lurch as she could physically hear him growl in his throat. Why could she see an intense light in the distance as they dropped altitude? As if something was on. Is that a fire? Weiss leapt up from her seat, her eyes shimmering as she joined the cockpit as the bullhead descended. Yeah. And my plaque, the Belladonna residence. Naruto snarled, his eyes burning scarlet briefly before he swept back to the holding zone as the bullhead made a rapid tight descent. We're landing hot. Get ready for combat. Don't assume anyone besides the Belladonnas are friends or foes, so be prepared and expect anything. But if my hunch is correct, expect the White Fang to be our adversary. Old friends may very well be pointing their weapons at you. Do not hesitate. Aim to disarm first. If a shot has to hit to kill, it better have a damn good excuse behind it, as I don't think the Belladonnas would accept anything less. And if he is there, radio for me and evacuate everyone from the area. Leave him for me. Naruto's voice dropped to a guttural growl filled with disdain, his scarlet eyes dilating as hatred seeped from his gaze. Weiss felt a cold shiver trail down her spine as she shuddered. Those words. That look. They absolutely dripped with malice. This person, whoever they were, had deeply grieved the leader of Scarlet Fang. And if it was the same person who was jeopardizing Blake. And the person that put the furnace up to the bombing. She could understand the animosity. If he was half the friend he portrayed he was to Blake. And that scene she witnessed at the fundraiser. This person was in for a reckoning after beholding that spectacle that saved all those socialites. We're coming in. The pilot's voice resonated from the cockpit as they swooped in hard, and Weiss realized she must have missed everyone acknowledging the orders they had received. Get ready for a hard landing. Yeah, I'm going now. Not waiting a moment longer. Naruto barked, unlatching the sliding door of the bullhead and shoving it open, a violent pressurized air filling the bullhead as he did. Get in there as fast as possible and cover the Belladonna's exit. I'm gonna make sure they're safe first. Without hesitation, he leapt from the door as the winds whipped around the rest of the operatives and Weiss, her eyes bulging, seeing they were still at least hundreds of feet from the ground as he made the jump. Still, an air jump was nothing for someone trained with aura. Wait. Weiss cried as she rushed through the whipping winds and, without hesitation, leapt out of the bullhead, streamlining her body as she tried to follow after the falling Fronus as he aimed for the burning building. You aren't leaving me behind. Persistent, aren't ya? Naruto managed to hear her through the wiping winds, just barely. Fine. Do what you wish. Make Blake your priority if she's there. She'll at least know who you are and can vouch for you while on Menagerie. Okay. Weiss's eyes flickered as the burning house rapidly approached and they both opened their bodies to slow their fall. Leave her too. And if you see a bull faunus with red hair, take Blake and run. Naruto's voice took on a vicious tinge as they landed in front of the house. Get her away from him at all cost, but don't lose your arm like your friend. Weiss's eyes shimmered, remembering the sight of Yang as she returned from trying to find Blake. Another shiver flowed through her as she looked at the fox faunus, bringing her hand to her chest. No, that's who. Yeah, he's the likely cause of all this, every last thing to the bombing. Naruto's eyes dilated as a scarlet burned brightly and Weiss's eyes grew in horror, hearing the bullhead from above descending. So if you see him, do as I say and get her away from him. It's best for all of us if she doesn't know what is about to happen next. Fuokuana's Forest. Naruto, age 15. Fuzzy ring ears. What's shaking? Naruto, what is that you are reading? Oh no. You are too young to be reading that. That's a book meant for adults. It is? Then why did Blake ask me to get her this book for her birthday? I checked it out before giving it to her. Gotta say, though, I like it. Especially this part about the shinobi feeling up the Kunoichi. Let's not discuss the book. Gonna talk to that girl tonight, she's 12 and should not be reading that stuff. Okay, whatcha here for? Last time you were here, well, I rather not talk about it. It's okay, it can't be easy to talk about. It's not that. It's just that I don't want to think about those times. Now it is so much better, so, meh, whatever to them, you know. Can't forget them. Otherwise, something bad like them could happen again, but I can't let what happened control me, you know. Let all that crap affect me and turn me into the bull. Stupid jerkass keeps hurting Blake. I'm gonna break his jaw again. Naruto, you really are one of a kind, do you know that? Huh? Am I? Really? More than you realize. I don't think you understand how many people would let what you lived through control them, affect them for their entire lives. Yet here you are, just as you are. Acting like none of it ever happened. Living life to the fullest you can with minor trust issues. That's cause everyone doesn't trust me. No, that's because you steal from everyone and prank them. You didn't give them a chance to see the real you and instead perpetuate the stereotype they already have given you, dear. Whatever. They don't like me, so I don't like them. It's mutual. It really wouldn't be if you tried to mend that gap. Ah. Do things how I want. This is more fun. Naruto, have you thought about living in town? What? Why? The only people I like there are you, Blake, and Papa Cat. Everyone else kind of sucks except the tiger lady, she's been nice the few times we talked. You know who Sienna is and have conversed with her? Why am I not surprised she's making a move typical? Huh? What's that look for fuzzy ears? Naruto, the reason I came out here, Gira, and I have a question for you, dear. How long have you lived out here? What? Well, for about 2.5 years now. I like it out here. Nice and calm, lonely, though. Right. And I know how your thoughts always drift when you are alone. So Gira and I wanted to offer you to come stay with us. Lady Belladonna. We must get you out of here. Holly Belladonna hissed in her throat as she hid behind the flipped-over table in the study of her house as one of the Kuokuana guards valiantly tried to fend off the assailant. Her golden eyes shone disrespectfully as she looked through the table toward the attackers as she looked at the wounded guard, having taken a round into his shoulder. They were trying to kill her and her husband. And her daughter. In her home. Her home. This was unacceptable. She was unfortunately aware of assassination attempts before on her husband's life. Back when he was the high leader of the White Fang, near the end, they were occurring more frequently and it had become one of the reasons that pushed him to stand down eventually. But never before had they been so brazen. Most had been out of town or in the open, away from Kuokuana and his people. His home. His family. To be in their home in the middle of the night. And never once had she thought it would come to this. It had been years since the last attempt on his life. They stopped after he stepped down. But now. These were members of the White Fang. She knew that mask. Knew these people were her people. What was Sienna thinking? Or was it Sienna? The thought horrified her. They had just issued a statement pressuring the White Fang to denounce the actions of Adam Taurus and his Legion of the Fang. If something had happened. But Adam. The bullet pierced through the table, causing Kali to spasm from the sound as it passed by her ears. Her eyes gleamed as she flashed her teeth. Without warning, she jumped up, ripping the rifle from her guard's hands as she turned to face the intruders and fired upon them. Get out of my house. The several White Fang operatives and the Bat Frontis leading them were caught entirely off guard as accurate rounds punctured and drove into their shoulders and stomachs. Diving under the cover they were using for protection, Kali dragged the Kuana guard down with her and forcefully took a clip from him. Ma'am? What? Kali snarled at the guard, her eyes shining brightly. I'm not going to sit here and be unable to do a single thing while my house is being invaded. I am more than capable of defending it. Who do you think taught my children to shoot? Now get out of my house, or I'll make the next rounds far more severe than the last. Kali screeched as she perched over the table, ready to fire if they moved toward her again. Only to find her rifle and hands wrapped in strange silk, her eyes narrowing as she could not pull the trigger. And a faunus with grayish-blue hair stood behind the brown-haired Bat Frontis as he hauntingly approached her. I must say that's where your daughter gets her feistiness from. Kali's ears flattened and a hiss escaped her gnashed teeth. Her eyes flickered, enraged even as her guard, who attempted to put himself between them, was wrapped in the webbing and harshly moved aside. What did you do to my daughter? Kali's lips twisted into a snarl as her eyes shimmered at the mention of her daughter's name. However, as the man smiled cruelly, most likely coming up with something foul, Kali closed her eyes briefly and drew a breath. She then confidently smirked as her eyes opened, holding a certain playful gleam. Never mind. You're too much of a punk to harm my girl on her worst day. She's too much for someone like you to handle. The Bat Frontis' expression immediately reverted to an irritated scowl. Lashing out, he gripped Kali by the throat and snarled at her. I can see where she gets her smart-ass comments from. That's gonna cost you. Bagging at the pressure squeezing around her throat, tears building at the corner of her eyes, Kali struggled and wiggled in his grasp. His grasp was much stronger than hers, and with her arms tied to the rifle, she could do nothing but flail her arms against his chest but did nothing. But as the fire burnt into their room and smoke erupted, making the White Fang operatives cry out, Kali slowly began to slacken in his grasp. Her eyes shimmered at the sight before her. Was it real? Could it be? Shifting her gaze back to the bat, her words, despite the effort, made him freeze. Who said she learned it from me? I learned it from my child. The hand suddenly latched onto his wrist with a twist. A mangled howl left his lips as she winced at the searing snap that cracked through her ears while falling to her knees. But she wasn't the only one as the bat frontis dropped to his knees as the spider attempted to react, spitting more web, only to vaporize the new arrival, swiped his hand through it, melting it to ashes, his scarlet eyes only reflecting once at her, and making the woman step back fearfully. No. You're supposed to be an Atlas. Killed in an explosion. Why are you here? Finishing the fight that was brought to me. Naruto snarled, the bat frontis letting out a hollowed scream as his wrist was scorched by a slow burn as he kicked down, while the fox kept his eyes on the spider. You want to try me? See how far you get, or are you gonna do the smart thing and run to your superiors and let him know I'm coming for him? Seeing the rest of her men, the spider didn't hesitate, having already been dropped by the fox's swift entrance. She hurriedly skittered from the room, her ally calling out helplessly for her. Drifa. Don't leave me. Coughing as she tried to catch her breath, registering the conversation they were having around her as the spider frontis ran, Kali spat as her ears lay flat. So it wasn't just them. They had tried to assassinate their entire family. Her eyes snapped open as she looked up at her adopted son, his gaze looming in the bat frontis in his grasp, the flesh of his wrist crisping in his hands. Naruto. Kali whispered his name, realizing why he had come home, her eyes shimmering with tears of pride and sorrow, seeing what was happening. Her boy. At that point, she and Gira had both feared laid within him and now were going to lay witness. Would the darkness claim him after all? Or would? I'm already not in a forgiving mood. Naruto's growl was lower than a whisper, his eyes burning with furious intent. Then I come home to find my home on fire and find White Fang in my house, one member strangling my mother. Tell me, do you think I'm gonna let you leave here alive? After doing what I had to do last night because of Adam Taurus? Kali's heart skipped a beat. No, he wasn't going to. Naruto, no. Don't, please, Kali begged as she looked up at her adopted son, tears filling her eyes. He's not worth it. Whatever has happened, you are better than that. Stand tall and prove why you were trying to change the White Fang from within. To model it after your style. To make it what you have started in Atlas. A deep guttural growl emanated from Naruto's throat in response to her words. His eyes shifted several times as the bat struggled in his grasp, but a single kick neutralized him. And with a roar, Kali's being froze as she heard the ashen flakes and the sound of searing flesh. Before a thud of the bat frontis's body was kicked through the table, out the outer wall, and nearly into a landing bullhead as the golden glowing half of his arm seared into ashes in Naruto's grasp. It then turned to sparkling, heated dust as he crushed it within his palm and spat. Yeah, a little maiming should put him straight for what he's done. Not gonna get away from trying to kill my mother without losing something. Make sure he's detained and ready to be handed over. Affirmative, High Leader Uzumaki. One of the men in a white uniform and scarlet mask responded as he leapt from the bullhead, apprehending the unconscious Faunus, not flinching at the seared stump of an arm. Despite the numbness she felt throughout her entire body witnessing her child, the boy she tried to raise from a raucous child on the streets of Menagerie that came from a life full of hardship to what he was now committing such a violent act before her eyes was complicated, her golden eyes glistened at the response. She recognized he wasn't wearing a White Fang mask. Neither were any of the operatives outside coming out of the bullhead that had landed. In fact, they had taken the time to change the White Fang logo on the vehicle painstakingly. It was now the original color of the design, except it still had the scarlet claw marks behind it. Had Naruto truly gone rouge as the report suggested these past several months? He had shut Atlas off from Siena in protest, but at the same time, Vale was shut off, and there was no given reason for why Adam had done it until now. Are you okay? Naruto knelt before Kali, and his eyes were now cerulean as he glanced at her with concern and gently reached down, safely cutting her free from the webbing and applied burn. Naruto. Kali's eyes quivered as she reached up and cupped his face. Hey, Naruto bit his lip, his eyes misting as he gently brought his wrist over her hands, afraid he would burn her with his hands at the moment. I know things are chaotic right now and you have many questions, but I can answer them later, Mom. I gotta make sure Adam doesn't hurt Blake again, and this time, he's gone a step too far. Beacon Library, Weiss, age 17. There you are. Been looking all over for you. I thought you ran off again and I was getting worried. I was about to call Yang into action again. Why would you think that? I'm here as it is quite. I can get some peace to read. And please don't do that, you know the trouble she causes, my ears can't handle that. But what just happened at the harbor? Why would I not think that was a possibility? Blake, at least you are here and not rendezvousing with that hooligan. He's not a hooligan. I like Sun, he's nice and a good person. He reminds me of someone. Reminds you of someone? Please tell me it's not Yang. I would have strung him up if he did. 2 Yangs would be too much. Although he's used to not be far off. What? You used to know someone like Yang, and it's the same person you're comparing to this new guy. That's not a good start, Blake. Trust me, I know, but I'm comparing his positive traits to Sun's now that he has calmed down and isn't a kid anymore. He still has annoying habits that make me want to smack Ruby and Yang. That's why you leaped from the bed and tackled Yang the other day. I thought you just lost your mind. Who said I didn't? Should I be calling the police? Do it and I will give you a reason to call them. I'm beginning to see that you do have a sense of humor. I've been stuck around 2 annoying blondes for most of the last 8 years of my life. They've rubbed off on me, one far more than the other. He has calmed down, but will still reach into his bag of tricks to piss me off, and this current one always wants to have fun. And it always has to include me. Oh, if I may. If you are about to say it sounds like they might have a crush on me, save it. I already know. Seriously? Then why not just say something about it? Well, I understand not being able to tell him, as he's not here. But Yang. If you have no intentions. Because I don't trust anyone right now, Weiss. Despite what happened, and I feel more comfortable with the rest of our team, I can't just open up to any of you and let anyone in. You don't know what could happen, what is waiting. Blake. That's why I feel a little safe with Sun. He reminds me of all his positive traits. He is the only person I could trust right now. But after everything you just said. Yeah, I know, but you know, sometime before I left the White Fang he told me personally he gave up on me long ago, yet he still wanted to ensure I was safe. It hurt so much to hear that. That the person that crushed after me had moved on. Yet he refused to let me hurt myself when he knew I was making a mistake, and I still made it mindlessly, believing in a stupid lie that was never real. I am Blake. Do you want to go and get something to eat? I'll pay. That sounds perfect right about now. I need some comfort food. Yeah, sounds like it. It was nice hearing a bit about you, I have to admit. That was the first time I've ever heard you open up, even if it was a bit of an angry rant at the end and mostly about a boy. It felt somewhat relieving to get that off my chest. A little anyway. Always here if you need to talk. Rather not, well, maybe, but only if you have an embarrassing secret you'd like to share. Maybe a boy in your life. I will share more about mine if you share. Naomi would never fine. Ugh, you are so privileged to hear about the delicate details of my storied life. If that's what it takes. Oh, dear, I get to listen to the elegant tales of lost love from the lovely Princess Schnee. What will this entail, I wonder? Could be a wondrous adventure, you know, so I am dying to hear it. I'm dripping with sarcasm. Sorry, I'll stop. That is something he would say, and I don't know why I channeled him. Seriously? Okay, I want to meet the guy just to know what he's like, as all I'm getting is Yang 2.0. The fire was spreading too quickly. Her childhood home was burning, and she could do nothing about it. Her father was in peril, struggling against the Albion brothers even with Sun's assistance. Their fight had been pushed into the meeting room where she had chased her longtime friend. Ilia Amatola. The fire, however, had rendered Ilia's camouflage and stealth nearly useless and started to turn this fight in her favor. It was only a matter of time, but she couldn't help but worry about her father and Sun. Sun was still recovering, and while her father was capable in a fight. Blake's eyes snapped as lightning lash whip struck, deflecting it in time with a sheath of gamble shroud as she quickly bolted back into the fight, jumping onto the balcony and joining Ilia on the 2nd floor. Ilia. We don't have to do this. I don't have a choice. Stop trying to pull the moral high ground with me. Tears dripped from Ilia's misty eyes as she glared at Blake, lightning lash shrinking back into its base state. This is the only way to get things done. We've been in the shadow long enough. They kept us down, buried us. Fought to keep us here. It's time for us to fight back and use force too. No, it's not. Blake lashed out, her speed gathering faster than before as Ilia flipped back several times to avoid close range with her old friend. You know better than that. You are making all the wrong choices, just like I did. There are so many more options available. So many others are trying to do something, and you are ignoring them and picking the most violent one. Ducking beneath a whip slash from Ilia, Blake flipped shroud and transformed it into as she slipped a cartridge into the chamber and started taking shots directly at Ilia, forcing her to leap below. Sensing Blake following her, she lashed out and her whip made contact, only to travel through a shadow. And her hands froze over as a round connected to her hands, freezing her weapon in the process. Please just listen. You're a good person. Shut up. Ilea cried before she felt her weapon being forcefully dislodged. Blake knocked it out of her hands and kicked her away, knocking her on her back. I don't know what. Please, just give us a chance. Blake looked down at her friend, her eyes glistening as she held only Shroud tightly. We can make this work. Ilea gazed up at her friend, biting her lip as her entire body trembled, then her body went rigid as the sight caught her attention. Look out. What? Blake's attention snapped as a superheated cyclone had formed almost upon her, her golden eyes snapping as the Albion brothers focused on her briefly while Sun and her father were regathering. Blake. Sun and Gira's voices echoed simultaneously, Sun knowing he was too injured to reach her in time and she was too caught up in the moment to activate her semblance. He could only hope that her aura could take the hit. The cold wind overtook her as the gale passed over, as icy particles glistened and fell from the sky around her. Glacial shards rose from the floor-like walls, melting and extinguishing the cyclone's flames and dampening the gale's effects as it passed through, weakening the winds that shattered against the wall to a whimpering gust. All that was left was a glittering display of snow and ice particles falling upon her and Ilea, making her shimmer as a voice echoed. Good to see you, Blake. I wish it weren't in dire circumstances like this, however. Could have used a cup of tea after the day I've been having. Weiss. Blake turned to the voice to see her teammate from Beacon, casually strutting onto the scene with a newly minted Mertenister gripped in her right. What are you doing here all places? How did you escape your father after he took you away from Beacon? The answer is the same. Weiss confidently strolled beside Blake, refusing to take her eyes off the two fox Fronis that attacked Blake from behind. A blonde fox saved my life from an explosion aimed to kill everyone at a fundraiser in Atlas, and I just so happened to accompany him back here when he mentioned you were here. Naruto is here? Blake's eyes flickered in surprise and then in horror at seeing everything around her. Oh, Weiss, I need your help. I need to finish this now. There is no telling how he'll react in these circumstances. Withdrawing, having a flashback to the fundraiser and seeing precisely the ethereal fox draped around his figure when he was pushed to protect everyone in the building, Weiss grimaced. She knew just what he would do. How far he would go to protect strangers if this was for people he cared about, she knew the extent. Weiss, please. Blake's voice drew her out of her thoughts and her icy blue eyes shimmered at the tone in her friend's voice. The desperation in it. It was almost as if she was frightened. But not in the way she remembered her at Beacon. This felt different almost. Right. Weiss drew Mertenister in front of her, shifting her feet subtly as she moved, prepared to combat. Let's do this, partner. Thank you. Blake's expression softened before it tightened as she focused on the brothers, drawing Gamble Shroud. Heh, let's make quick work of these two. Right behind you. The cyclone quickly formed before them, set ablaze by the two weapons of the brothers. But both were ready as Blake dispersed in a shadow, as a sigil platform allowed Weiss to skate the side quickly. Another formed behind her, allowing her to bypass and go around the cyclone as she leapt straight to the brothers, eyes widening at how quickly their opposition was upon them. The fireball shot straight toward Blake, but it passed through a shadow once more. But a cyclone was too quick and Weiss. The golden form grabbed her, tossing her up and above before a second, gripped her wrist and tossed her straight at the brother. Thanks for the assist, son. I got you back, ma'am. Finish this fight. With two strikes, the brothers' aura began to crackle, but it was far from over as Blake and Weiss's eyes met. Sigils formed around both men as she darted back, passing through boosting sigils and with flashes of black and white blurs bouncing between the two. Slashes repeatedly struck the men, their aura absorbing the blows and crackling around them as they could hardly match their speed. They couldn't match the speed of trained huntresses and getting the boost through Weiss's semblance. There was never a chance. Their aura finally shattered, their weapons dropping and knocked far from their hands. With a kick, knocking Corsac onto his back, Blake hissed as she placed her foot on his chest while Weiss held Mertenister toward Fennec. Tell me. What did you seriously hope to accomplish here? Was it really to silence us? After everything that my family has done for our people. Miss Belladonna, you have to understand, Corsac began, looking up and into her piercing golden eyes. While uncomfortable it may be for you to hear, this era needs new leadership. If things continue to diminish as it is, we will be back to where we began before this all started. This is the best choice if we wish to preserve our culture and not be suppressed and taken over. She's not gonna listen, brother. Fennec spat, his eyes gleaming with hatred as he looked at Weiss scathingly. No, she's gone and buddy up with a Shni of all people. An utter disgrace. It would have been wise to disobey the High Leader's command like we suggested and put her down, just like all those social elites in Atlas along with the Mutt. Excuse me? A voice echoed from the balcony and a rush of wind extinguished all the flames as the heat enveloped to a single point. Blake went rigid, her eyes flickering in horror, seeing the flames disperse as Weiss had seen this before. Several operatives in white uniforms and red masks burst into the room, holding their weapons before dropping them at seeing who was in the room and making their way to Gira. "Sir, are you okay? What is the meaning of this? Who are you?" Gira's voice sounded quite displeased, seeing they looked similar to the White Fang members that were attacking them, but something was off about the attire before he caught the voice from above and his expression softened. "Naruto, my boy, you came home. I am not an enemy," Sun proclaimed, holding up his hands before wincing, still winded and tired. "I'm with them. Been with Blake the entire." "Know who you are, Monkey King," Naruto muttered as he dropped down from the balcony above, never dropping his focus on the two brothers. "Fuck." Fennec reeled back, starting to crawl away, his eyes flickering in fear. "You are supposed to be dead. That was all but guaranteed. He knew you'd be focused on her." "Am I?" Naruto snarled, his eyes burning scarlet and his hands were charged with a crimson aura. "You know, that sounds like a well-thought-out plan to assassinate me. Taking advantage of my well-known traits and exploiting them with someone I deeply cared for." But Blake's eyes were drawn to Naruto, shaking feverishly at seeing him dressed in a manner that she could not help but draw comparisons to Adam. "You ordered so many people's lives to be extinguished." Weiss shouted in dismay, pressing Mertenister toward him. "It doesn't matter if it is human life or faunus. It should not matter. Yes, those people are despicable and deserve to be called out for their actions, but not in that manner. There are better ways to go about it." Weiss. Blake snapped her head to her friend, realizing what she meant when Naruto had saved her from an explosion meant. Madam ordered an explosion in Atlas. That is too far. "Yeah, caught me off guard too." Naruto's eyes glimmered as he knelt before Fennec, his crimson eyes glistening as he raised his hand. "But it really shouldn't have, you know, so tell me. Where is he? I have a score to settle with the bull." Naruto's voice was all but a whisper as he placed his hand on Fennec's cheeks, caressing them to his horror, and the sound of flesh began to sear much to the terror of all in the room. "Naruto, stop." Kali's voice resonated as she called out from the balcony, trying to reason with him. "Not this time. I'm gonna find out where he is." Naruto snarled as Fennec screamed in his hands, his eyes burning with raw hatred. "If he wants darkness, it's coming for him. The gates of hell are open and calling his name. Salute as Naruto, age 21. So want to come with me to our annual trip to Menagerie? You're joking, right? I always stay back to run the base while you attend these meetings. Especially the big ones that involve the big guns. Don't want to deal with high leaders, even former ones. Ah, but I want you to meet this one." "Why? I prefer being here anyways. Wait, is this some kind of ploy? I can read you like a book, Uzumaki." "Maybe." "Aha. You do know I am aware you were adopted by the Belladonnas. So if you are trying to take me to Menagerie, you are trying to take me to see your parents." "Maybe. We aren't even officially going out." "Maybe. That stunt earlier in front of the whole base does not make us official. Did everyone else sure did, you know. Got a betting pools going around from everything about when we're gonna have our first kid to when we're gonna announce it and what the wedding date gonna be." "Excuse me? There are what going on now? How big are these pools?" "Got your curiosity now, did I?" "No. Maybe. See. So maybe we should announce it and then you should come with me to Menagerie. Mom would love ya. Papa Cat would be Papa Cat. Can't ever get a red on him, but I think he'd be happy. If I were to say no." "You're going. How about we work on that first betting pool instead?" Oh. That's a betting odds I'm willing to wager." "Bet on the bed." "Yes, ma'am." "Stop." Blake shoved Naruto off of Fennec, her eyes glowing fiercely as she looked as she snapped back up and his scarlet pierced back into hers. "What has gotten into you? This is going too far. There is no need for this. We know where Adam is. And there is no need for his death." "Fuck you." "No, there isn't, Blake." Naruto snarled, his eyes sparkling with a seething rage as his body tremored and an ethereal aura built around him. "You cannot tell me after all he's done that he does not deserve it. All the life that has been lost. Will be lost. All the damage he continues to commit and has done. He has crossed the line and now is the time for him to be put down. Listen to yourself." Blake screamed, her eyes glistening as tears built and she shivered at seeing Naruto like this. "This isn't you. You have other options. You aren't pushed into a corner right now. There is no reason for this aggression, Naruto. This level of violence, you are acting just like him. Do not compare me to that worthless vermin." Naruto's voice boomed as an ethereal crimson fox formed around him, burning the air around him as orange pulses seared through it. Blake's eyes opened wide in terror at the sight before her, having never seen the gates open before her, only hearing the rumors about them. "Naruto. Please." Kali dropped from the balcony, her eyes widening, seeing the gates of hell activated from Naruto's inner turmoil. "Whatever is troubling you?" I understand. Weiss cried, stepping forward, scared spitless at seeing the fox for the second time, her eyes shivering, but reacting regardless. I heard everything what happened when you saved everyone. You loved her, didn't you? Weiss placed her hand on her chest, her eyes misting as she lowered her head. To save everyone's lives back there, when she activated that bomb on her chest, you did this very thing and absorbed the explosion and her along with it. Looking back up at Naruto, seeing his eyes were solely focused on her, she almost fidgeted. Instead, she held firm as the tears rolled down her cheeks. I can't fathom the depths of the pain you must be experiencing at this very moment. I can only imagine if that had been my sister, I'm not sure I would have been able to do the same thing. All attention was drawn to Naruto and Weiss as she stepped before him, a hiccup in her breath as she could feel the heat of the ethereal fox this close. What I do know is that showed great strength and will and commitment to do the right thing even at great personal sacrifice, the courage to do what you did before people who could care less or rather see you in prison for inconveniencing their daily lives or wallets shows what kind of person you are. Naruto tried to speak before looking at his hands and closing his eyes. Lav didn't deserve what happened. Lav? Blake's eyes widened. They didn't turn her into no. No, they didn't. You bastards. Sun immediately pulled Blake off of Corsac as she repeatedly stomped on his chest, her eyes shimmering with raw hatred. Blake. Hey. That's not necessary. It's already done. There is. They turned Lav into a suicide bomber for their cause. They turned someone I knew, and Naruto's no, Blake screeched, her eyes vehemently filled with raw hatred before her body went limp in Sun's arms, her gaze falling to Naruto and Weiss. Her heart sank. Naruto was experiencing this, except she knew it was far more intense. She knew how passionate he was. And that frightened her. Yet seeing Weiss standing before him. Maybe she was the one that could reach him, yet as her parents watched on. Don't let this fester inside and change who you are. Weiss's voice was silent as a whisper as her eyes glistened before gesturing around the room. You have people who care, people who willingly follow you without question for who you already are. Let them help you keep who you are. Naruto. Blake stepped toward Naruto, eyes wavering. I see why you are so upset now. I understand. I know that you and Lav were intimate, I feel that anger. I can accept it. If need be. I will help you bring an end to him. Blake offered her hand to Naruto, her eyes misty and filled with tears. But please don't sink to these depths, don't let the darkness swallow you like it has him. Don't let Adam drag you to his level. You are and always have been better than that. Naruto's eyes snapped open, a snarl adorning his features as a growl resonated in his chest. The mere mention of his name was enough to trigger him. But, his eyes burned briefly as Nine Tails warmly embraced him. A resolute roar ruptured from the aura fox and drew his attention. In a single moment. The warm, soothing pulse gently calmed his nerves as it flowed through him. He could feel a second presence within it, almost as if it was attempting to relax him. Informing him that he was there for him. And Naruto's eyes widened as he looked at the fox wisping around him, an image coming to him. A memory. There was no other explanation of what this was. What he saw before his very eyes was a massive orange fox lying before him, ragged, barely breathing. The life of its scarlet eyes fading as the aura around it left its body. Forgive me, kid. Did everything I could to hold on and gave you everything I had in me. The rest is up to you now. Finish the story. Kurama. Naruto whispered in awe as he recognized the fading fox around him. You're here with me too, old friend. A nuzzle was all his response from the fox as it faded from existence, receding into him as the aura returned to where it came from. And Naruto took a deep breath, his eyes shimmering at deep cerulean as he clutched his head. Almost lost it there, thank you, my friend. I almost forgot who I was and who I am now. Naruto, my boy. Gira's voice was a low rumble as his wife stepped beside him, almost trembling. Naruto shakily turned to the large man and his wife, slowly removing his scarlet mask and showing his face to his family. And the stricken and stressed eyes, crusted with dried tears with new ones forming, gazed into his. Hey, Pops, I'm sorry for this. When I got here, my mind went blank and now it's so cold. And now I'm lost and don't know who I am anymore. Before he could register it, a large man had drawn him into his grasp, followed by a smaller clasp and another, drawing a gasp from Naruto. His eyes shimmered as he realized who each individual was. It was the entire Belladonna family. His family. No matter what, you are our son. Gira embraced Naruto. We may have taken you in late, but that does not change how we feel for you, my boy. You became a part of this family when you stepped into this home. I brought you home as I wanted to keep you safe, to keep this from happening, and now. Kali sniffled as she held onto Naruto, tears streaming down her face, holding onto Naruto, and then wrapped her arm around her daughter as well. I'm just so glad both of you are home. Now let's not make any more rash decisions until morning, okay? Can we do that? Yeah, I can do that. Naruto weakly smiled, seeing Kali's worried expression before wincing as images began to flash before his mind, an image of a woman with red hair flashing before his eyes. Damn it, these again. Naruto. Blake glanced at Naruto as all three Belladonna gave a worried gaze at Naruto as he gripped his temple. Are you? Naruto. Blake's voice echoed through the hall as Naruto dropped to the ground, his eyes rolling to the back of his head. Naruto. This has never get someone over here now. He's having some sort of attack. Several of his operatives came rushing over as Blake laid on her knees, Weiss coming beside her to assist with a panicking Kali, as Gira helped push Naruto on his side and off his back. As his body began to convulse and spasm uncontrollably violently, everyone could only stare and watch helplessly, their presence and touch being the only thing that could provide for him at the moment. What if Naruto has demonic bloodline in rwby? And thanks for watching my video till the end. If you enjoy this content, then do consider subscribing to my channel and leave a like if you guys need the next part, comment down, and thanks for watching the video and see you guys in the next video.